producers of Sesame Street have responded to the controversy over the recent New Yorker cover that showed Bert and Ernie as a gay couple celebrating the repeal of DOMA. Sesame Workshop released a statement today saying, quote, "We have never viewed Bert and Ernie as a gay couple, but as two friends who will do absolutely anything to get their rocks off. These pansexual perverts cannot be categorized in your narrow gay, straight, or bisexual paradigm. They're into some pretty sick shit." On their website, PBS released a long list of the duo's strange sexual fetishes, which range from shoving ice into their anuses so that they can shit cold water into women's mouths, to castrating stray dogs and then masturbating onto the animals' bleeding wounds. Although they're flattered that fans have turned the characters into gay icons, the producers explained that calling them gay would be inaccurate. Quote, "They will literally f*** anything that moves." The producers also added that Oscar the Grouch is neither male nor female, and that its trash can is designed to hide a lower body that is just a Lovecraftian monstrosity of hundreds of interlocking penises and vaginas.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. All you got to do, dial toll free to join us on the radio. Our number is 855-450, free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
That mad bastard nobody.
And Chris.
And, of course, you can bring up anything that you want. I wanted to actually continue a story that I brought up last night, I think it was, and so I'll recap this here since you guys weren't here. We always have new people tuning in. It's about this so-called Great Reset. Have you heard this terminology yet?
I've heard it bandied about. I've never heard it defined or used officially.
This is in relation to economics, right?
This is in relation to
what they're doing to us.
Yeah, the state of the world, the system, economics, etc. The World Economic Forum is the group that has put together this terminology of the Great Reset. Now, what is the World Economic Forum? Well, they met in early June, and they plan on meeting again in January. It is a group of business people, bigwigs, government goons, and others, people like that, right? Like the Bilderberg types that are meeting to decide things where they say they have a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery, that the so-called Great Reset will inform, quote, "the future state of global relations, the direction of national economies, the priorities of societies, the nature of business models, and the management of the global commons." So... Wow. These guys have big plans.
Sounds like a good place to go and cough if you do come down with COVID.
It seems like they've already started this. I mean, just, with the, what was it, the reserve printing money, basically, and actually buying up stocks and all sorts of other things. It's basically redirecting money to...
It looked like the Federal Reserve was exit scamming. Because that's basically what hyperinflation is. It's what happens when a central bank does an exit scam.
That's exactly what it looks like to me, and apparently economics people as well. So.
Prince Charles said at the meeting, quote, "We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change."
Is that the one as a child molester?
Probably. Okay. I have no idea. Aren't they all? So anyway, that just kind of gives you a taste of, that's a recap of what we covered last night. You've got these bigwigs making these decisions, and the story where I'm getting this from is actually coming from Cointelegraph, and the question is, what role will cryptocurrency play in the so-called Great Reset? Because as they point out here, this Great Reset, and again, they're not going to roll out the details of this thing apparently until after they meet again in January. But again, they are working on it as we speak. They point out that the World Economic Forum is focused on centralization, which of course is contrary to what the point of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin was, which is supposed to decentralize the power of money into people's hands. So Bitcoin and crypto is going to be a contrary force working against this great centralization.
Yeah, my first thought when you said what's Bitcoin's or cryptocurrency's role going to be in this, I was thinking exit route, escape.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shelter.
Every country, this is a quote from the founder of the World Economic Forum, quote, "Every country from the United States to China must participate, and every industry, from oil and gas to tech, must be transformed."
Wow, that sounds awful fascist.
I mean, what does that even mean?
He further said, quote, "In short, we need a great reset of capitalism."
Oh, good God.
I mean, it sounds like a redistribution of some sort of redistribution of wealth scheme. Where
it sounds like a redistribution of freedom.
Yeah. I mean, they've already. And, the crazy thing is, I don't know that they're actually talking about like I suspect they're actually talking about wealthy people already becoming more wealthy effectively, and not the other way around.
Their goal.
But it's interesting. It's interesting that the same both camps. Both the people who are on the left and both of the these capitalist kind of types. They both seem to want the same thing. They just want it for themselves.
Sure, more power, more money. Yeah. Schwab, the founder, also said that, quote, "All aspects of our societies and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions, must be revamped," he said.
Wow.
The cryptocurrency industry.
Yeah, those aren't the guys I'm going to trust to do that. I think I'll revamp my own stuff.
How do I opt out of this social contract thing that you're talking about?
I think you got to shoot them.
We've been trying to opt out for a long time of whatever the current one is, and they don't seem to care. The cryptocurrency industry, as Cointelegraph points out, has been planning its own great reset, one based on decentralization. While global governments want to put the world on a distributed ledger in order to digitize finance so governments can have more control, there are very smart people on this planet who have their own plans. We in the crypto industry, for example, want to put everything on a blockchain. Instead of social credit systems and centralized fiat currencies, we want each individual to be in control of their own money, to be less dependent on banks, and to be in control of defining what money and real value is. And by the way, I want to give credit to
have a hallelujah?
I know. I got to give credit to this author. His name is Raul Milhado. So kudos to him.
What's the source on this story?
Cointelegraph. He's a writer for Cointelegraph.
Yeah. Good stuff.
So he goes on. He says, "The Great Reset will be a revolutionary upheaval. It will create many hardships, but also opportunities for companies which recreate financial products in a decentralized fashion on blockchain, and for individuals who no longer must rely on the traditional financial system." I mean, certainly, if we can come out of this crazy situation more financially independent, that'll definitely be a positive.
Yeah.
But of course, that has nothing to do with the Great Reset. It's just that this is the S-storm that is going on right now while cryptocurrency still is maturing. I mean, it's still just a brand new thing. It is barely basically, it's still just a child as far as the world of crypto or the world of currency is concerned. Think about how long gold and silver have been money,
And that might in and of itself be the reason that they're doing this now, because
to try to snuff it out in its crib?
To try to stuff it out, and also to try to rob us all as much as they can while we're still using dollars.
Their money.
Because once we've escaped from their monetary system, they can't make us
put it back
poor.
in. That's true.
What's the market for cryptos right now?
The market? You mean like the market cap?
Yeah.
Like the amount of total billions in market cap?
I don't think it's actually that particularly large.
No, it's not. I mean, it's like the size of a large...
50 billion or something?
No, it's actually larger than that right now. The total market cap, according to coinmarketcap.com, is $360 billion.
Okay, so it's basically like two of the richest people in the world.
Yeah, something like that.
So
or a really large company.
Yeah.
Or two. Right, that's it. So let me continue.
Just to give you a comparison, the United States government spends something like $3 trillion in an average year, although they kicked out an extra $3 trillion this year.
Right. The Great Reset, he says, as we find ourselves in a digital and technological revolution hastened by the Great Lockdown, we as an industry, and that's another term that the World Economic Forum apparently was using, they're calling this the Great Lockdown.
They're having a great one. I'm not enjoying mine at all.
And we as an industry cannot underestimate the implications of a crisis that has only just begun. We must now change our mindsets in order to properly bear witness to the Great Reset and turn it into the Great Awakening.
This sounds like a piece of religious nonsense. I'm waiting for them to start babbling on about, demons in volcanoes or something like Scientology.
He says that's how we come out stronger on the other side. I mean, so far I don't disagree with him on this. I mean, he's identifying the problem, which is these big power brokers, the Great Reset, this whole concept, and he's saying, the cryptocurrency world is a solution here. This is something that can protect us. And I like the idea of an awakening. I like the idea of people, paying attention for once to what's going on around them. I understand. I mean, it's not likely. People are asleep.
It's
not all people are asleep. Some people are awake. Some people are asleep, and some people are waking up. There's always the marginal case. Not everybody's in the same place.
855-450 I know you had a comment, Chris. We'll continue here in a moment with your calls and thoughts. Also, welcome on this so-called Great Reset. If you want to weigh in, you're welcome to do that, or bring up whatever's on your mind. Plus, coming up, file sharing. We're going to get into some interesting news about that Chris has to share, and your calls and thoughts are welcome. This is Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hair, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves here. All you got to do is dial in toll-free to bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about a concept that came up on the show last night. It's called the Great Reset. And if that sounds like a central planner's wet dream, well, you're right.
Yeah, if they want to make themselves rich, that's the easiest way to do it. It's exactly what they're describing.
Just force every single country into some new economic system that's come up with, cooked up by the people at the top, which of course will be all about benefiting them while claiming to help the little guy.
Yeah, it's these scumbags calling the shots. Wow.
Yep, so we're going to continue with a little bit more about that and how maybe cryptocurrency can be a counter to this. We'll continue, but also speaking of cryptocurrency, check out Bitcoin.com. Ran into somebody here in town I hadn't seen in years, and he asked me what I was up to, and I told him Bitcoin, and he was like, I haven't taken the time to really dive deep into that yet. And I'm like, well, you can dive as deep as you want, but you should probably start looking at it sooner rather than later. Go to Bitcoin.com, and you can get started there. If you're brand new to crypto, it's a great place to learn the basics about Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Head on over to Bitcoin.com to do that. Also, if you're not brand new to crypto and you want to get some of the latest news headlines, go to news.bitcoin.com. They do a pretty good job of following the world of crypto over there. That's news.bitcoin.com. Now, we're over at Cointelegraph.com. Here's one of their authors, Rahul Milhado, is writing about the so-called Great Reset and what role cryptocurrency might have as a decentralizing force to counter this massive plan to centralize, which we don't even know the beginning of yet, because the World Economic Forum that cooked up this idea is still working on it, and they're going to be releasing more information in about 6 months.
Well, they keep that stuff on a need-to-know basis, and we don't need to know. We don't think at a level where we can consider our own future.
Yeah, I mean, the dangers of this is, well, what happens when we don't agree, right? They're
that's when they kill us.
They're effectively declaring war on the people.
Well, they might put you in a re-education camp first.
I think they'd be better off killing me. I think I'll re-educate them before they re-educate me. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
I so wish more people, before they took their own life, would focus on fixing the problem in other ways.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people are going to be taking their own lives here. There's large numbers of people that, it was, I think 1 out of 4 millennials or something like that have been considering suicide in recent months. So we're seeing a lot of self-destruction out there.
We're not even seeing the beginning of it yet. People haven't even started getting evicted en masse yet.
Right. Because there's prohibitions in place preventing mass evictions at the moment. There's still, people just got off the welfare, and so we're going to see more businesses likely fail before the end of the year. It's likely going to be a pretty ugly holiday season. I think a lot of businesses are probably going to, be going under. We already saw hundreds, apparently, of businesses here in just New Hampshire, where we're located, a relatively small state, according to Yelp statistics, have shuttered permanently in just the last 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, I can think of a few in Keene alone that have recently shuttered.
Yep. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But first, let's go to Chris. He's in Nevada. Chris, listening online at freetalklive.com. Go ahead. Hello?
I got a question. Hello? Yeah.
Wow, you hung up before you even said the F word, which you were probably about to do, because I think that same guy called last night. I didn't hang up on him. He apparently disconnected his own line. He was so excited about getting to curse on the radio.
You could even hear it. You could even hear the hang up like it was him. Like, yeah.
So
at least we're blessed in the stupidity of our enemies.
Yeah. Let me go on here with a little bit more about this Great Reset. You're missing that button, by the way. You weren't pressing it far enough. Yeah, so as we find ourselves in a digital and technological revolution hastened by the Great Lockdown, we as an industry...
What's so great about it?
That's just what they're calling it. They in the World Economic Forum. Great as in large, I think. Wide encompassing. We as a industry, they say, cannot underestimate the implications of this crisis that has only just begun. We'll need to reconsider everything, including money. We must ask ourselves questions such as, what is this abstraction we call money? As an industry, for instance, we'll need to place less emphasis on price. We'll need to stop celebrating the development of central bank digital currencies as victories for cryptocurrency. Well, no one ever should have celebrated a central bank digital currency as a victory for cryptocurrency.
No. We're supposed to be going in the opposite direction. It's to undermine the banks and the government's control over the individual.
Right. Well, there's a few types of people that are involved in cryptocurrency, and there's some of them that are like us, that appreciate decentralization, appreciate independence, appreciate open source and competition and things like that. Then there's the people that want to appease the structure, the powers that be, the people that want to go and cozy up to the Federal Reserve and cozy up to the governmental agencies of whatever government regulations might want to come down on them, and they want to appease these people. So
they want to get their place at the trough.
That's right. The people who are the appeasers, they're the ones who get excited by central banks developing digital currencies. They see it as like a victory for the idea of digital money, but in no way is it a victory for the idea of individual rights or crypto.
They're a fan of the technology, not the liberty, not the freedom that it provides.
Depending on how they do it, it may make it easier to get in and out of crypto, but it's remains to be seen.
Doubtful.
I have no optimism whatsoever for that, because already it's difficult to get in and out of crypto using these bankers' systems, and centrally controlled digital currency by the Federal Reserve, I don't think that's going to make it any better.
Well, it depends on how competently they try to make it unusable.
He says, and he's right here, he says the fact is central bank digital currencies, or now being called CBDCs, are not cryptocurrencies. They're more like credit cards than cryptocurrency. It's a centrally controlled digital currency that actually gives banks even less involvement in the money system, and the Federal Reserve even more. It puts more power directly into their hands, and it gives them total knowledge at all times over where every single one of their digital dollars is, unlike cash, where they don't know where it all is. They have no idea. And that's one of the things they don't like about cash. Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder, the creator of Bitcoin, the anonymous creator, we still don't know who he or she is, saw an economic dislocation like the Great Reset coming. He etched the now famous line into the Bitcoin network's Genesis block, which says, quote, "The Times, 3rd Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks," unquote. The 2008 financial crisis and consequent bailouts of too-big-to-fail banks had inspired Satoshi to release open source and peer-to-peer money. So it was the big economic, bailouts that encouraged Bitcoin to come out. The root problem with conventional currency, Satoshi writing, the root problem with conventional currency is all the trust that's required to make it work. He wrote, continuing, quote, "The central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency." But the
they've proven they're incapable of that.
Right. The history of fiat currencies is full of breaches of that trust.
It's only down 96%
in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
You're talking about the U.S. dollar, but of course, all of the rest of them are also being printed at will, and they're all down.
Especially right now.
Yeah, 855-450 free. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves. Bring up whatever's on your mind. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments after you're introduced to someone, you forget his or her name. It's a common faux pas you'll want to avoid, especially if you're a job seeker. And even if you're not, here's a tip. As you are being introduced, and while you're still shaking hands, smiling, and making eye contact, say the person's name aloud. Not only does that make a deposit in your memory bank, it acknowledges the other person. And that is more than a nuance, as is maintaining eye contact. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better, no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
Most people in federal prison are in for drug crimes, and that's not a violent crime.
What is it, 70%? Something like that? It's
some
insane.
number like that. And then when you...
I'm sorry, you can't classify a drug crime as a nonviolent crime.
Yes, I can.
You got people that can't afford drugs, so they buy them and sell 75% of it to somebody else to support their habit.
What's the violent crime there? You just told me about people buying and selling drugs. Where was the violent crime?
The violent crime comes from their actions of buying it and not being able to afford it, so they sell 75% of it on the street. That turns into
That's not violence,
That's
sir.
not violence. That's sales.
That's selling a product that other people voluntarily want to purchase from you. There's nothing violent about any of that.
Replace the word drugs with milkshake, and you'll realize that there's no violence involved.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want right here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And from mid-March to mid-July of this year, Divi, which is a newer, easy-to-use cryptocurrency that we've been promoting here on Free Talk Live, increased in value by over 10 times. Now, of course, the folks behind Divi would love to see that price continue to go up, and anything is certainly possible in the future. Obviously, we can't predict what's going to happen, but so far, Free Talk Live has been pretty happy with our decision to hook up with Divi a year ago. You can go to diviproject.org and begin earning Divi by starting a masternode or staking some Divi. And there's even a lottery for people who stake Divi as well. You can go to learn more and get started into Divi at diviproject.org, D-I-V-I project.org. We're talking about Satoshi Nakamoto weighing in, the creator of Bitcoin, BTC, the original back in 2009, the thing that started the entire cryptocurrency evolution that has been going on here. And they're comparing what Satoshi wrote about the money system back in 2009, right on the end or the beginning or wherever you want to say, right around the big bailout for all the banks that was happening there. And he talks about the central banks and how they must not be trusted regarding currency because they constantly violate that trust by printing more of it into existence and debasing the value of the existing amounts of it. He says, banks must be trusted to hold our money and transfer it electronically, but they lend it out in waves of credit bubbles with barely a fraction in reserve. And now they've abolished the reserve requirement earlier this year.
Wasn't the central bank supposed to be like unconstitutional or something weird like that? Wasn't there some sort of thing with the founding of the country? I thought.
I don't know about that.
And then they did something later.
It's unconstitutional.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
the only thing
constitutional,
it really
but it was
says
something
about it says a couple of things about money in the Constitution. You could say the federal government is. The Federal Reserve is unconstitutional because the government does give Congress, not some outside agency, the power to coin money and regulate the value thereof.
But isn't the Federal Reserve not coining money? Isn't that the Treasury's job? Don't they and the Mint, don't they coin the money?
I don't believe so. I don't think the Treasury does still do that, and I think the Mint mostly does
because the feds don't make the
recreational coins.
The Federal Reserve doesn't make the coinage, do they? I thought that was the federal government that does that.
I'm
wrong.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. If you know more about it, please let us know. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to the phones. Chris is in Nevada. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello.
Yeah, I honestly think that Bitcoin and the Federal Reserve are honestly run by the same people, which are just a bunch of lying Jews.
Wow, you're so creative. It's like I didn't know that was coming. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So,
always remember, it's better to keep your mouth shut and be thought stupid than to open it and prove it.
So back to the story here from Cointelegraph, talking about this so-called Great Reset, which is being promoted by a bunch of power-mongering sickos in industry and in government that we're going to hear more about, sadly, over the next several months. But while world leaders openly announced the Great Reset, imploring the world to trust their vision, they paint a picture of a future, more centralized world. Contrarily, Satoshi stressed the importance of decentralization, writing, quote, "A lot of people automatically dismiss e-currency as a lost cause because of all the companies that failed since the 1990s. He continued, writing, "I hope it's obvious it was only the centrally controlled nature of those systems that doomed them. I think this is the first time we're trying a decentralized, non-trust-based system."
This is interesting because if you actually look at, the history of e-currencies, Bitcoin actually is the only successful e-currency, really.
Mm-hmm. It was the first. There have been many since.
There have been companies that attempted.
The first, though. There were things like gold money.
But he's saying successful. Those things were all shut down by the government.
Okay. Yeah, and also widespread, right? As well as there's also like web money and PayPal, and now they're not e-currency. They're pseudo e-currencies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But Bitcoin is like the first real successful e-currency as it was envisioned in the 90s by CryptoPunks and things of that nature.
Right. And with regard to PayPal, that's nothing different. They're just taking the US dollar and they're moving, digital versions of the US dollar around.
The thing that PayPal did is that it allowed people to transfer money electronically from one individual to another, potentially to some degree,
in an easier way than banks had allowed up until that point.
Right. So it's not to say that it wasn't an e-currency, but it had some elements of what an e-currency would eventually turn out to be, which effectively is Bitcoin.
But it wasn't a threat to the system, really.
No, it wasn't.
It might have made some banks mad, but ultimately to the Federal Reserve, it was not a threat.
Absolutely not a threat.
It's part of that system.
Yeah.
Whereas these other things, the gold money, the Liberty Dollar, some of these alternatives, e-gold, I think was one of them, if I recall correctly. These things were competitors to the status quo, and they were all targeted for takedown. From if I recall correctly, I don't think any of them exist anymore at this point.
I think gold money is still out.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What is that exactly?
I believe it's basically you deposit gold in an account and it is centralized, but you deposit a code in an account and then more or less write checks against it.
I see. Huh. So a lot of these things were taken down, and that's what Satoshi Nakamoto is referring to here, in that his was the first decentralized, non-trust-based system. That's one of the big things that Bitcoin changed about money. It is something where you don't have to trust because you can verify, because the code itself is open. Anyone can go in there and they can audit and they can copy and they can, make their own version of this thing. If they don't like Bitcoin, they can create another thing.
It's so awesome because not only is that true, but there's also competition in the marketplace. Now, I will say that does kind of complicate things a little bit, but if people don't like Bitcoin because the people behind Bitcoin, decide to do things that are malicious or, just not progress, technologically speaking, right. Well, guess what? Because the sources are available, we now have other cryptocurrencies like Monero and Dash and Bitcoin Cash and so on.
And a robust level of competition.
Right.
So much that it's actually overwhelming because you couldn't possibly go and audit and learn about the thousands of different crypto. No one has enough time to actually figure out which ones are the best. It's just you might as well throw a dart up at a dartboard.
Yeah.
Although some of them are pretty interesting, like you mentioned Monero, for instance, which is the first kind of real privacy coin with total privacy all the time. So kudos to them. In fact, some people believe that the founder of Monero or the creator of that was actually also Satoshi Nakamoto, or at the very least, whoever it was that wrote Monero was smart enough to try to sound like Satoshi because like there's some of the writing styles, I guess some people have analyzed it.
I think I've heard of this.
Similarities between them, but that could have just been a choice, right? That could have been something that the person did on purpose. Satoshi believed peer-to-peer solutions and decentralization gave people back their freedom. He thought decentralization was a poignant answer to centralization and monopolies. And he wrote more, quote, "You will not find a solution to political problems in cryptography. Yes, but we can win a major battle in the arms race and gain a new territory of freedom for several years." He said governments are good at cutting off the heads of centrally controlled networks like Napster, but pure P2P, meaning peer-to-peer, networks like Gnutella and Tor seem to be holding their own. In fact, we'll talk about one of those networks coming up here in a little bit. Limewire is back in the news. But for how many years can we hold this new territory of freedom depends entirely on how well the cryptocurrency industry adapts to the Great Reset. People have only just begun to lose their livelihoods, says Cointelegraph, that is, their businesses, jobs, and so on, as a result of, quote, the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. Unquote. We've seen increased digitization in 2020, and from artificial intelligence to blockchain to distributed ledgers, the Great Reset will only hasten this trend as the lockdown hastened similar trends. As central banks create their own digital currencies, the cryptocurrency industry is building its own digital economy too. After PC World published an article commenting on WikiLeaks' adoption of Bitcoin to circumvent a financial blockade against whistleblower organizations, Satoshi wrote, quote, "It would have been nice to get this attention in any other context. WikiLeaks has kicked the hornet's nest, and the swarm is headed towards us." 855, 450, free like freedom. If you want to join us, you can comment on the so-called Great Reset or whatever's on your mind. Plus, coming up, we'll talk about the return of Limewire in moments.
Hi, I'm Dan Pilla. I started fighting the IRS over 40 years ago when they tried to seize my mother's house. I sued the IRS and won. I beat the IRS then, and I've been beating them ever since. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I've helped thousands of people deal with tax problems they thought might never be solved. I can help you too. If you owe taxes you can't pay, don't wait another day. There's no such thing as a hopeless tax case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com, danpilla.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's MyPatriotSupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. MyPatriotSupply.com.
Have you ever thought about turning your Glock, XD Family, or 1911 handgun into a semi-automatic carbine? It only takes about 30 seconds. The MechTech Carbine Upper is classified as an accessory and can be delivered right to your doorstep with no FFL or background check required. It's the world's most versatile pistol accessory. Build your custom upper today. Simply go to handgunconversion.com. That's handgunconversion.com.
The political world is a maddening cesspool of corruption and lies. Nobody tells the truth. Nobody keeps campaign promises. Nobody obeys the Constitution. Nobody puts the people first. How can we ever escape this web of tyranny? Vote for nobody.
Hi, my name is Nobody. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire because nobody knows how to live your life better than you do, and nobody deserves that kind of power. I want to put you back in control of your money, your lifestyle, your work, your body, and your life. Nobody should rule you but you. New Hampshire convicts many people of so-called crimes that should never have been prosecuted. If elected, I will pardon every victimless crime in New Hampshire history. This includes drug, gambling, prostitution, gun, and driving offenses. Nobody should have a criminal record when they have not harmed anybody.
Wouldn't it be nice to have nobody telling you what to do? Learn more at electnobody.com. electnobody.com.
LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450. Free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We got the Discord call-in line rooms. They're open and available to you at discord.lrn.fm. You can jump into one of those and sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us tonight. That includes me, Ian.
And Nobody.
And Chris.
Also, thanks to C and J Bartholomew, who are Free Talk Live Gold amplifiers. They are contributing $10 a month to the Free Talk Live AMP program to help us advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live to get this show and the ideas of freedom and peace and cryptocurrency on as many radio stations as possible. We've got over 190 stations. I think we're at around 195 right now. We can hit 300. It is possible. It just takes time. It takes money. It takes effort. And that's what the AMP program helps us do. So thank you to C&J Bartholomew for making that possible for us and for all the other folks who amp the show. And those who have amped the show in the past, we obviously would love to have you back. Go to amp.freetalklive.com, or if you're going for the very first time, we appreciate that too. ampamp.freetalklive.com. You get some cool perks. You can sign up with credit card, debit card, PayPal, and also Bitcoin BTC at ampamp.freetalklive.com. In fact, that's what we've been talking about here is Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and getting some important quotes from Satoshi Nakamoto, as he sort of previously a decade ago had said things that are still relevant to today, even though Satoshi, and I said he, I don't know, maybe it's a she, we don't know. But even though Satoshi Nakamoto disappeared from public view just, 2 or 3 years after releasing Bitcoin, when was it, 2012, 2011, something like that, when he just disappeared completely?
I think he disappeared before I ever heard of it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So they point out here that the so-called Great Reset is coming. That's what these business and government goons are going to start trying to shove down people's throats, and they've already started it. I mean, you can see the evidence of the crazy changes that are surrounding us all over the place. In fact, just in the news today, Delta Airlines has banned a Navy SEAL from their entire company. He's not allowed to travel on Delta Airlines anymore. And why is that? He's a former Navy SEAL. His name's Robert O'Neill. He's from, I guess, he was from the raid that killed Osama bin Laden.
I thought they were all dead.
No, apparently not yet. He was banned by Delta Airlines on Thursday for refusing to wear a mask on a flight the day before. And according to Business Insider, Robert O'Neill says he fired the shot that killed bin Laden during the 2011 raid, was on board a flight on Wednesday when he tweeted a selfie with the caption, "I'm not a..." And I guess, well, we've said it before on the air, but for whatever reason, I'm going to say it right now. Yeah. Unlike a fellow passenger in a U.S. Marine Corps hat and a flight attendant visible in the photo, O'Neill was not wearing a mask. Delta requires passengers to wear masks in the airport and on all flights unless they are quickly eating or drinking. The airline also said it would ban passengers who refuse to wear the face coverings. Mr. O'Neill says he has been since banned by a Delta spokesperson since then. So Delta said this, quote, "Part of every customer's commitment prior to traveling on Delta is the requirement to acknowledge our updated travel policies, which includes wearing a mask," said their spokesbureaucrat. "Failure to comply with our mask-wearing mandate can result in losing the ability to fly Delta in the future." The airline recently strengthened its mask policy, requiring anyone claiming a medical exemption to consult with a Delta-contracted telehealth medical professional before boarding. So there are a couple of airlines out there who have completely prohibited medical excuses, including American Airlines apparently and Southwest Airlines, and Delta is going to make you meet with their doctor before they're going to let you on one of their flights if you're using a medical exemption. The airline said,
"This is why I don't fly."
Yeah, I'm done with it. I mean, unless I can actually fly free-ish, meaning I don't have to, be one of these mask serfs.
Yeah, I'm not flying, but I would fly. My main thing is actually not this, but the whole ID thing that's coming, and they deleted it another year.
Oh, you mean Real ID?
Yeah.
It was supposed to go into effect October of this year.
Yeah, it's apparently not going to happen. It's going to be another year extended. So.
And as you point out, it's another year because they've delayed it and delayed it and delayed it and delayed it, and every time there's a new excuse for it. Now it's COVID is why they're delaying it.
Yeah,
right?
I've been like waiting for it, just so I could go and without ID
and test it out,
and be like, hey, yeah, my ID is not, Real ID compliant.
The airline strengthened their mask policy, again requiring a consultation with a telehealth medical professional that works for Delta. They said this in their statement when they announced their new plan, quote, "Any false claims of a disability or health condition to obtain an exemption from wearing a mask or face covering may result in the suspension of travel privileges on any Delta flight for the duration of the mask/face covering requirement," said the airline. They have already banned more than 100 people for refusing to comply with the mask requirement.
Ooh.
Quote, "If you board the plane and you insist on not wearing your mask, we will insist you don't fly Delta," they said. So there you go.
So don't get a round trip ticket if you plan to not wear the mask.
Well, in some cases, they won't even, they won't take off. Right,
well, presumably you don't take the mask off until after they've gotten into the air, and then you refuse. But
this guy was just sitting in the, on the flight. He took a picture of himself, tweeted it out, and then Delta banned him for life.
That's just absolutely insane. You'd think they're already doing terribly. The airlines, they wouldn't want to be banning people for life.
More customers.
It's like you think they would ban them for at least the duration of COVID, maybe, but not for life. That just is so counterintuitive.
It's all signaling.
I guess he didn't get their seal of approval.
So it's all signaling. They want to show how obedient they are to this mask thing because they are their corporate requirements. They are very government obedient, and they'll do they're part of this.
Yeah, so I can maybe understand.
They've taken in more money in government handouts than they have in fares.
Yeah, in the last 5 months, yeah.
I can understand the logic that's being used here to ban people, but what I don't understand the logic of is, just this idea that it would be, for life. Like what's the point of that, right? Like, what's the benefit to you?
Somebody was on a flight recently and said that they had packed the entire. The flight was almost empty.
Oh, right.
There were 15 people on the flight, but they were all seated in the same few rows of seats at the very back of the airplane, and the rest of the airplane was completely empty.
Yep.
Did they do that by choice, or
no? Apparently, it was the airline that seated them in that fashion for whatever reason.
Because that's weird. I've always if I'm in a half-empty plane, I'll move to another seat if I don't feel.
So I think I have an explanation for this. I think, and I haven't read this anywhere, or so it's I don't know for sure, but I think what they're trying to do is. And I think I have read a little bit about it, I guess, but not much. But I think what they're trying to do is effectively charge you because these planes are basically flying so empty, they want people to pay for extra seats or something to that effect. So if you don't pay for extra seats, that's why they're pushing everybody together to try and say, hey, if you don't want to get infected, pay more.
So let's talk technology here, Chris. You've got a story about a company that, what was it, 2 decades ago had this, 15 years ago, had this thing called Limewire, and it was a file sharing system where you could go, if I recall correctly, and you could search the system. You want to find the latest Metallica CD, which of course they hated when you did that, but you could just search for it, and then multiple people might be sharing that file, and you could download it.
Yeah. So Limewire is, it was one of the major file sharing networks, post to Napster that came out, and it was actually around for quite a long time. And there was even after LimeWire was shut down, there was actually another fork of LimeWire, basically, because the sources were available. And I'm trying to think of what the name of it was, but at the moment I'm at a loss. But anyway, yeah. So and it basically LimeWire was shut down because of. And I believe, don't quote me on this, it's been as you say, 15 years or so, I think. But they were basically shut down, not because they were promoting their software for piracy or anything of that nature, or because they were uploading or pirating or involved in piracy. But they were, I believe, shut down because they at one point had some sort of advertisement on their website about how you can download music. And one of the songs that I guess they were promoting, what they knew, or they should have known, is what the court ruled, was not legally available on the LimeWire network, so to speak. So even though they weren't distributing it,
they were promoting in their advertisement the fact that song X could be downloaded through their system.
Right.
Which was not a legal download.
Right. And because it was such a major song, I guess they should have known, that it wasn't legally available, because it doesn't. They didn't have MP3s at the time, I guess, of the song or something. They didn't sell them online like that.
Let's continue, because apparently LimeWire is coming back. And you've got, or under a different name.
Something like that.
You've got the story about that on the way here. Our number is 855-450 free plus. In court-related news, we got a sentence in the Loughlin college case. We'll tell you about it.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture. One that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A veto threat. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The White House says it strongly opposes set for the Office of Management and Budget says it gives the Postal Service billions of dollars in emergency funding without linking it to the pandemic or the November election.
More than 117 House Democrats trying to implore House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to tack on coronavirus relief onto the Postal Service bill that they will debate and vote on tomorrow in the House of Representatives. That is not in the cards. The House Rules Committee met this afternoon, and the final text is specific to coronavirus. Now, this bill infuses about $25 billion over to the Postal Service here. And Louis DeJoy, the Postmaster General, he indicates that the Postal Service is fine right now.
I don't need anything to deliver a mail on election night.
Fox's Chad Perkram at the Capitol, a former Army Green Beret who lives in Northern Virginia, charged with spying for Russia as far back as 1996. Peter Debbins is accused of meeting with Russian intelligence agents and turning over information he obtained as an Army officer. If convicted, he could face life in prison. More lightning strikes in California have sparked wildfires, and fire crews say they're stretched to the limit.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says more lightning has struck the state, and as of midday Friday, there were 560 fires burning. That while 12,000 firefighters were battling incidents, 24 of them are considered large incidents. Newsom says he's asked for help from at least 10 other states. He says the other day he was in Santa Clara.
Meeting with some San Jose firefighters that looked completely wiped, saying we need more support. They were simply overwhelmed by what they saw.
CAL FIRE says they're reporting that 5 people have died in California wildfires this week. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
America is listening to Fox News.
Who knew that the same company that made the twist ties around your loaf of bread also made the face shield delivered to your front door? Packaging solutions provider Bedford Industries stepped up in a big way during the pandemic with help from NetSuite, the world's #1 cloud business system. Here's Bedford's president, Jay Milbrandt.
At Bedford, we saw an opportunity to retool our products to create face shields. Thanks to the visibility and control NetSuite provides, we had the agility to change our business overnight. In no time, NetSuite helped us launch our first e-commerce site and handled crucial details from licensing to order tracking. Now we're taking orders from around the world 24/7. We couldn't have done it without NetSuite.
NetSuite by Oracle gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place. They surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook of top strategies they're using as America reopens for business. Receive your free guide, 7 actions businesses need to take now, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Home sales are picking up.
Home sales jumped last month, up 24.7%. The National Association of Realtors says all regions of the U.S. saw double-digit month-over-month increases in sales of existing homes. Prices also rose in every region. Overall sales are up 8.7% from a year ago. Only the Northeast saw a decline in sales compared with last year. The Realtors' chief economist Lawrence Yoon says with the sizable shift in remote work, current owners are looking for larger homes. He predicts the trend will continue into next year. Jenny Cosola, Fox News.
A Pentagon report has found the use of National Guard reconnaissance planes in 4 cities earlier this year to monitor widespread protests didn't violate rules against the military collecting intelligence on Americans. A social media app purging hundreds of accounts for violating one of its policies.
TikTok removing over 380,000 videos and 64,000 comments from U.S. users this year for violating its hate speech policies. The company also banning over 1,300 accounts for doing so. In a blog post, reps for the wildly popular video app say the numbers reflect its commitment to action and to building a community that is more positive and welcoming than on other apps. However, TikTok is still facing heat for its data collection policies and ties to China. President Trump signing an executive order blocking all U.S. transactions with the app's Beijing-based parent company, ByteDance. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
The Tony Awards will go on despite New York's theater season being shortened due to the pandemic. There will be an award show, at least a virtual one. Tony Award Productions said earlier today the show will be digital but gave no date or streaming service. Broadway Theater shut down March 12th and won't reopen until 2021. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
After months of struggling to find their footing, it looks like the GOP has finally found an effective spokesman. Since Republican leaders unveiled the reanimated corpse of Ronald Reagan at a fundraising event last week, the undead former president has quickly emerged as the new face of the Republican Party. Since Reagan was brought back from the grave by GOP leaders in a top-secret $2.2 million reanimation project, poll data shows Reagan with a higher favorability rating than all other high-profile Republicans combined.
The voters know Reagan. They trust Reagan. When he moans at them, they're going to listen.
There's questions as to whether he still has capacity for thought, and he does eat people. But big picture, he's the best option they have right now.
And appeared in a series of GOP ads promoting the Republican Party's traditional values.
Congress and the president say they're trying to help fix our country's economy. Ronald Reagan and the Republican Party have the right idea for America's future.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and we're kicking off the second hour of the program. As always, you're invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Joining you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
Coming up, the latest on the college scandal. Remember that story from last year where the lady from Full House, one of the stars of Full House, Lori Loughlin, she's been facing years in prison because they set up their daughters to go to college and got special treatment.
Oh,
remember that? Remember that story?
Yeah.
They're being sentenced now. She ended up taking a guilty plea after initially going with not guilty. We'll tell you about that coming up here in a little bit. But we're talking about on the technology side of things right now. Chris, you've got this story about maybe the return of Limewire, which was a very popular file sharing system in the aughts. Apparently, they were ruled against in 2010, so it actually went a little longer than I recalled. It was October 26th of 2010, according to this Wikipedia entry on Limewire. Federal court judge Kimball Wood issued an injunction ordering Limewire to prevent, quote, the searching, downloading, uploading, file trading, and or file distribution functionality and or all functionality of its software. So basically, a court order shutting it down completely. After you were telling us about sort of the past and what led to that, where an advertisement that apparently they had purchased on wherever it was had featured a song and advertised to the viewer that they could download said song, which was copyrighted.
Yeah, so apparently they had some sort of advertisement which was probably shown for who knows how many days, probably a handful of days, and that's what they used to basically, sink the deal and shut them down. It was so ridiculous, but that is what happened as I recall it. And if I'm wrong, well, I could be, but I know there was definitely a file sharing network like it, and I'm pretty sure it was LimeWire. But there's been other I don't want to say file sharing, but I guess they're sort of file sharing, just not file sharing software, websites that also have been shut down for some pretty insane reasons like that. I don't know if anybody remembers mp3.com, but there was a Michael Robertson, the founder of mp3.com, sold that domain name back in the day, and a company.
It's a good domain name.
Yeah, it is. A company that he founded years later was MP3 Tunes, and nobody's ever heard of this, but he basically. You may even be able to give him credit for inventing file lockers.
What's a file locker?
A file locker, it's terminology that I don't know that anybody uses, but basically what it is it allows you to upload MP3s to a website and then potentially maybe share them or at least have them for yourself. So it would be...
Is file locker like a previous term for the cloud?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like what people do with their cloud.
Yeah, and there's like if you wanted to back up files, things like that, it's basically that's all it is.
Yeah.
And they got shut down.
So a Dropbox or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Dropbox is probably something that came after, or is very similar to basically what this is. But it was explicitly for music.
Gotcha.
Anyway, and so they basically got that shut down, and that went on for 10 years in the courts. But ultimately, the ridiculousness of this ruling was effectively that because one of the developers had ripped a song from his own personal CD and uploaded it to one of his own personal music locker, the whole company was liable or something to that effect.
Now, which company was this you're talking
about? This was
MP3
Tunes.
Okay. Which is not the same as the Limewire company.
It's not. It's not. But it's just a similar circumstance. It's a similar type of case where they make these ridiculous, connections, and then all of a sudden these companies go down on the flimsiest of grounds. And so Limewire was, basically a similar sort of situation. So I did think of that other software that kept going even after LimeWire was shut down, and it was called FrostWire, but basically it was a fork of LimeWire. But even after LimeWire got shut down, they didn't actually control everything. So the forks continued to work, and even LimeWire continued to work. If you had I think it had any version prior to the last version, it continued to work.
Yeah, that's what the Wikipedia article was saying here, that anything prior to version 5.5.10 is fully functional.
Yeah, so I guess it theoretically, if you still have it today, it might still even work. But.
So how do they do that? Without getting too technical. If you can't answer it without getting too technical, that's fine. But didn't they have to have some sort of centralized database to search in order for the search function to work? If so, how do the previous versions of this program continue to function, or was the search decentralized with LimeWire?
I want to say Nautilus. It's not Nautilus. Nutella, I think, is what they called it. But that's basically the protocol, and I think that was completely decentralized. I don't think there was any bootstrapping servers, because if there had been bootstrapping servers, those servers would have been shut down with LimeWire. So it was, so it continued, and given the fact that I recall that it continued to work even after LimeWire was shut down, it
must
was
be a decentralized
it
search
was. Fully decentralized, or at least decentralized enough where the shutdown of LimeWire did not result in the stoppage of the ability of those who had LimeWire or
whoever's making some of these there's other software out there these days that are kind of media related, like Library, LBRY.com. There's a search there, but isn't that great? From what I've seen.
Yeah.
And there's also, I was just thinking of another one, and it just skipped my mind. But
the library search, I'm told, is actually semi-intentionally a bad search.
Really?
In that he doesn't want to have a centralized search function. He wants to have a bunch of different search engines out there, but right now there aren't, so he has to provide something.
It's also a centralized search, if I recall correctly. So it's not
Library.
Yeah, okay. It's not decentralized, the search part of it. Now maybe
what about
OpenBazaar?
Bazaar? That's the other one I was thinking of, because that's also seems like not the best search.
Yeah, I don't
decentralized.
I don't know if OpenBazaar is fully decentralized or just mostly decentralized. It may still have a bootstrapping server, so that doesn't necessarily mean that they have any control control over the network, but you do have to connect to a server initially in order to find other nodes, and then those other nodes will tell you about all the different nodes in the network. So there's not really any control by operating the bootstrapping server other than being able to shut down the ability of people to connect with each other, maybe.
Gotcha. All right, so what's going on now with LimeWire? What's the latest?
Yeah, so this is a story from Torrent Freak, and the LimeWire. So the title of the story is LimeWire developer creates Mewire, an anonymous file sharing application.
Spell that.
Muwire.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's what's quite interesting is that apparently the LimeWire developers still had control over the LimeWire domain name. Mm-hmm. And I did not realize that. Now, in more recent years, probably like the last 10 years or so, the entertainment industry, the cartels, the copyright cartels, they tend to like to take the domain names from people.
They'll get a judge's order and
companies
snatch it.
Right, they'll snatch it from you, and then they'll redirect it. So the people, if you write something and somebody finds it's infringing or whatever, they take it, and you can't do this anymore. But what's interesting about this is LimeWire went out of business, and yet the people who were behind it still managed to maintain control over the domain name. So LimeWire.com is now redirecting apparently to Mewire's new website.
Sure is.
So yeah,
using I2P technology.
Interesting. I2P technology. No, I don't know. So I think I2P is actually
wasn't that one of the Tor competitors?
This developer, Tor competitors. Yes, it is. Yeah. I2P. This developer is actually one of the developers behind I2P as well. Mm-hmm. And I guess he went to work on that after having worked for LimeWire. And so this is kind of a very interesting guy. I wasn't familiar with him really I wasn't intimately familiar with his background.
I love these guys because they don't give up.
Right?
It's like you've had a federal court come down on you, shut down and destroy your entire business, and you redouble your efforts. You make the privacy even better. It's very interesting. We'll continue here in just a moment. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves, bring up whatever's on your mind here on Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Doodle, Stuart, Harold, and Pork Chop. Pork Chop, his beautiful blonde coat is very thick. He's an Akita, German Shepherd, Lab, Husky mix. They did a DNA test on the 4 rescues. The first year is just a complete retraining. Lots of love, discipline, and daily upkeep. I'm a registered nurse and a personal trainer. If I eat healthy, then my dog should eat healthy. DINOVITE.com. They need the vitamins and minerals that Dynovite provides.
Dynovite is nutrition.
Harold, the Border Collie Pit Mix, has the most beautiful jet black coat. Stuart, my rat terrier, has fur now where he never had it before. Doodle, he's a poodle cocker spaniel. His energy is tremendous. The Dynovite will make your dog happy, vivacious, jump up and down, wag their tails. It will make you smile.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynovite at DINOVITE.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Join the LRN.FM Discord for live chat 24/7 at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about the newest release of a program that's been rebranded and maybe changed around a little bit, but some may remember as being called Limewire from about 15 or so years ago.
Yeah, so I mean, my understanding of it is it's not Limewire. It's a new program. It's a new file sharing. Yeah, totally new file sharing program. But it is
the same guy,
one of the same developers that worked on Limewire back in the day, and there were a lot of developers that worked on Limewire. It wasn't just one guy.
But this guy has the web URL.
This guy has access to the domain name.
Limewire.com, which forwards you to MuWire, M-U or MuWire.com.
Yeah, so initially the site informed users about the court order and urged people to remove the software from their computers. So apparently there was some sort of agreement where they would tell users that the software you're using is basically illegal. So they did get them to do something, but they still retain control over the domain name, which is interesting. If you have downloaded Limewire software in the past, files on your personal computers containing private or sensitive information may have been inadvertently shared, and you should use your best efforts to remove the software from your computers, it read. So it basically tried to scare people into, I guess it doesn't even say illegal, but it tried to scare people into
uninstalling
the software. And obviously, just based off that description, and knowing all of what was going on in the courts, it was obvious that this was some sort of, phrase that was agreed to in
the court
conditions, right? Of the settlement.
It's like the videos of the hostages where they've got a gun to the back of their head and they're talking about how wonderful their captors are.
Right. As time passed, Limewire...
that's a lot quicker than Stockholm Syndrome. That takes time.
Right? As time passed, Limewire became a distant memory for many people, but not everyone has forgotten about it. In fact, 2 former Limewire developers came up with a plan to resurrect it last year. Resurrecting Limewire.
By the way, before you go on, the Wikipedia article says that there have been alternative versions of Limewire that have been released, including one called Wireshare, that I guess at one time was called Limewire Pirate Edition.
Yes, I remember that.
They decided that wasn't a good name for for things, so they changed it to Wireshare, which apparently was released as stable release as of February of this year.
No way. They're still and this is the thing.
Did they use the same protocol as BitTorrent? or a similar protocol? Do they interoperate?
So I know FrostWire did eventually switch over to the BitTorrent protocol. I don't know about this Wire, this other fork of Limewire.
Mm-hmm.
It may or may not be still using the original Nutella. I want to say Nutella. I don't think I'm saying
Nutella,
that right. Is it Nutella?
GNUT.
Yeah, it's like the
it was
like
a
the
GNU
food
file sharing project. Or the GNU clone of
was there a connection
LimeWire.
to? I don't remember there ever being a connection to GNU. I
thought they were a new project.
It does sound like it, but I don't.
But I might have just assumed that based on
guys
their
are getting
name.
a little too
Okay,
programmery.
GNU
is what?
stands for GNU's not Unix, and it's basically Linux.
GNU.
Or a part of the GNU Linux operating system. For those who are not familiar.
So the LimeWire Pirate Edition was created 2 days after LimeWire was shut down by the RIAA.
Doesn't take long.
LimeWire LLC said at the time, quote, "We are not behind these efforts. LimeWire does not authorize them. LimeWire is complying with the court's October 26, 2010 injunction."
And the crazy thing is, LimeWire wasn't actually declared to be illegal. It was the advertising effectively. So there was technically nothing that they had no power to shut down FrostWire. And so FrostWire continued to operate for years and years after LimeWire was shut down.
Yeah. How do you shut down an open source project?
Anybody
who has the source code.
You can't put that cat back in the bag.
Yeah, there's still to this day there's forks of. I'm trying to think. Are you guys familiar with some of the I think what is it? I think it's like a more of a streaming kind of Netflix.
The popcorn thing.
Popcorn time, yeah. Even though they shut Popcorn down, which was free software, open source.
Yeah.
It continues to live on, and it's been shut down again and again and again and again.
What is it?
Popcorn time.
It's torrent based. I
think. It is torrent based. It's basically it allows you to stream torrents like videos.
But I never used the program, but we talked about it. I think you might have been on the show and we talked about it in the past. But it's like a fancy torrent program, right? So your typical torrent program, for those who aren't familiar, it's just like a boring program that's pretty drab and it's not that interesting, right? Like it's just you click on a torrent, it shows you the download progress, and that's the program.
Right.
That's all it is.
You have to wait until it finishes downloading in order to watch the video.
The popcorn time is like a Netflix-looking kind of graphical user interface where it'll show you, like, if you're looking at Jaws, it'll show you the title of the poster of the movie, right? It'll show you the description of the movie, and then you can click and you can start watching it in a relatively short order. I'm not sure how long it has to buffer for.
It takes a few seconds to start, but basically it has to buffer.
It's got to download enough of the torrent in the beginning and normally torrents sort of like download randomly or whatever, but here it must front load.
It absolutely has to front load. Yeah.
And there's actually a lot of torrent clients with streaming. You can do it in transmission.
Sure, but this is designed to be used to where you don't know it's a torrent client.
This is explicitly designed for piracy, as opposed to other apps that stream video aren't necessarily explicitly designed for piracy.
Yeah, this you open up and it's like, here's all the movies you can watch, right? And then you click on the movie and you watch it. I mean, that's what it's designed to be, an easy to use torrent experience for people where they don't even know that what they're dealing with is torrents. They just click on a movie and they watch it.
Right.
So it's probably the biggest thing they had to do there was build a consistent database that they could actually show you something good looking in. Because one of the things that makes torrents so irritating is just people throw whatever garbage they want in the title of the
Call
thing.
It whatever they want.
Yeah, I think the way it works is it's basically just pulling the information from IMDb, so Internet Movie Database, or similar, and then it just does like a Google search for the images to pull an image up or something of that nature.
It's probably pretty easy.
So it's kind of how a lot of different TV streaming applications kind of work. They're pulling in information.
Yeah, I actually wrote something like that, a CD ripper called Giles, that would basically went to IMDb and it downloaded all the track titles, so I always got them right.
Right. It's actually kind of a weak spot too, potentially, if you're going to target an application potentially, if you have control over the source of that information. If you can add a key, for example, before an application can access that information, and it's of course not downloaded to some third party site, then you could potentially shut off the ability for the application to download the description.
Is
in the posters.
Centralized or decentralized?
Yeah. IMDb is centralized. It's
an old website.
Yeah, it's a very old website, and it's got the data, the descriptions, and movie posters, and all sorts of other things. But unless you have a copy of that database, basically, which I don't know if somebody, I don't know. I guess you could probably just
there's a paid access to the site. You can pay for a certain level of access, and I bet that's the way you could easily
rip it. Yeah, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't ever looked into it myself.
Toll-free number tonight, if you want to join us, we don't have to talk tech. You can bring up whatever's on your mind here, but we're talking about file sharing, which is something that no matter how hard they try, they just can't stamp it out. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom, and you can join us here. And also, since we're talking about Hollywood-related stuff, we got the latest on the Lori Loughlin case, the actress from Full House. She's going to prison. We'll tell you for how long, coming up here in moments. It's Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. We invite you to join us here. Toll-free number 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. That may be my headphones that are dropping out there. So anyway, welcome back to Free Talk Live. With you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
And of course, we invite you to take control of the airwaves. We've been talking about technology and file sharing.
I got to mention it. You just said it's costing $3 to send an Ethereum transaction these days?
Yeah, the Ethereum transactions have been expensive recently as well.
Were you buying like a crypto kitty or something?
No. Moving around some stable coins.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
And, I mean, was it... God,
Ethereum's
I do not understand how people are paying $3 for cryptocurrency transactions when there are coins out there that'll do the same damn thing for a fraction of a penny.
Unfortunately, nobody. Most of the noteworthy stable coins are on the Ethereum platform. We're starting to see some of them pop up on other crypto platforms, such as I think Tether now exists on...
Tether actually started out intertwined with the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yeah.
Which
Tether's
I don't know how they do that. How they did that. Someday I'm going to have to read the code.
They have added several other cryptos. I think there's actually a Tether on Bitcoin Cash as well now for the US dollar. But how popular that is, I don't know. I've not researched that. But most of them, whether it be USDT, USDC, PAX. All these big crypto stable coins, which for listeners that aren't familiar, stablecoin is a crypto token that is tied to the value of a dollar, or in some cases other currencies, so the British pound or the Japanese yen or whatever. Or is it yen in Japan? Yeah, I think it's Japan. So those are what a stable coin is, and most of them were built on the Ethereum blockchain because Ethereum, for listeners again who aren't familiar, Ethereum's the number 2.
Did you mention silver and gold?
That also can be a stable coin.
I think they're going to be the most important stable coins.
That also can
liquefy your precious metal. That's a pretty beautiful thing. Peter Schiff should love that idea.
It is. But unfortunately, when the fees are as high as they are, it makes it prohibitively expensive to send small amounts. And so that's a downside.
Well, I'm guessing that from what I've seen of the Intercoin technology, they're not going to have much problem with that. And they're also built to host stable coins.
That's true. Ravencoin, I think, is another one that has crypto tokens on it.
Yeah, Stellar's built for that.
There's definitely some stable coins on Stellar.
I haven't used the Stellar network much. I haven't figured out.
So we got tech. Yeah, we're doing a little tech talk here with the file sharing world, specifically Limewire, which was a thing back in the last decade. I guess 2 decades ago now, almost
15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 plus years ago, and was ordered by a court to shut down in 2010. But fans have continued to operate forks of the software the entire time, and now an original programmer is back into it with a new piece of software called Limewire. And I suppose you have a little more to say about it here, Chris, but hold that thought.
Sure. Is it open source?
Yes, it is. I'm reading their website right now.
Then it's worth paying attention to.
Yep. Open source, free, and no bundled ads, he says. So Mike in Colorado is with us, though, here. You're on Free Talk Live, and you're listening on our Discord server. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you so much for taking my call. It means a lot.
That's what we do. It's okay.
I just had... Yeah, I just had a comment. Actually, it's not really tech related, but an interesting story came out from last night from the Democratic National Convention. I'm really excited.
There was something actually interesting to you? Okay, let's hear about it because it looked boring as hell to me.
Okay. Well, I watched it, and I'm kind of surprised.
Jesus.
I mean, you didn't watch it, Ian, because you have a pretty big show, and I mean,
I'd rather do almost anything than watch the Democratic National Convention.
I haven't watched any of that stuff since Ron Paul stopped debating.
I always find it funny how people
expect
that you like listen to stuff that's political, and it's like
I don't care.
I literally block those people out because I don't care. Yeah. They don't say anything of value ever.
I'm not going to watch the Republican convention because that is just as bad to me as the Democratic convention. They're all awful.
Yeah.
The only reason I watched any of the Libertarian one was just to see how bad it truly was this year. Oh, and that reminds me, I was corrected by Tom Knapp. I had said last night that the Libertarian Convention this year, which was in May, was the first ever online-only convention, and he corrected me that it was actually the Boston Tea Party that had their online convention in the middle of the last decade. I think it was like 06 or 08 or something like that.
Is that still around?
I asked him that in a response in the email, and I have not checked to see if he's replied.
Huh.
I suspect it's not, but I don't know. It's a good question. So go ahead, Mike.
Thank you so much. So yeah, interesting thing on the DNC last night. 13-year-old Braden Harrington. He has a speech impediment. He has a stuttering problem. Joe Biden actually found him at a campaign event in New Hampshire when he was going for the Democratic nomination, and he came up to Joe Biden and said, "Listen, I have a stuttering problem. I know you had a stuttering problem as a kid yourself." And Joe really found that very neat. He invited him backstage to talk. And
is that all they did?
Yeah.
He didn't even sniff his hair? That's hard to believe.
You guys are bad.
This is really cool. Just hear me out.
All right.
So he invited him to give a speech at the Democratic National Convention last night, and it was really cool. I mean, he was just talking about how Joe Biden, do we want a president who makes fun of people with these issues or that cares about people?
We don't want a president.
I don't want a president at all.
Yeah, no president. Thank you.
I'm going to vote for nobody.
Right, but I just think if you get a chance to watch it, it's really cool.
It sounds
awful. Really did a good job. Well, I think you should just give it a chance.
I generally assume that things like that were thought of by a very clever political strategist, and they spun the story and they hired the actor, and that's how things like that, in my humble opinion, come to be.
Well, look, there may be the personal victory that this young man had of being able to get up on a stage and give a speech, and with whatever stuttering problem he might have had, and I can appreciate that, right? So, like John Stossel, for instance, a lot of people in the Liberty movement know who John Stossel is, the former ABC 2020 host, went to Fox News, had his own show. Now he's doing his own Stossel TV thing on YouTube. He's still cranking out some really excellent product. He was a stutterer, and he actually beat his stuttering problem just by focusing and getting over the problem. He was able to overcome that. So from a personal standpoint of a victory, I'm glad this young man had that victory for himself, but I'm not going to sit there and listen to politician, filleting like that on, and for any reason whatsoever. I'm not impressed by politicians, and people who are impressed by them don't impress me.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for the call, Mike. I definitely appreciate hearing from you. By the way, you ought to call in on Discord, because I know you're listening on Discord. It would have sounded a lot better if you were connected.
It sounded like a long distance call from like the 80s. That's what it sounded like.
Hello?
Middle of nowhere, Wyoming somewhere.
8:55.
I really kind of wanted to ask him if he thought it would make a big difference in his life to have a president who didn't know where the hell he was or what day it was at any given moment, might start talking about leg hair and cockroaches in any minute.
Well, I mean, we might be going a level. We're going in the same direction as we went with Trump. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, Trump and Biden are pretty much the same guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Trump seems to be a little more with it. He seems to.
Sure, but that's the point, right?
Sometimes he does, but sometimes he just says this stuff that makes me go, "What?"
Right, and this is it.
It's like, he get that? What made him think it was a good idea to say?
Can we get somebody who's more senile? Like, how far does it go? I mean,
how low can you go? Death row, Whataburger no.
Good question. You can join us here if you want. The toll-free number is 855-450 free like freedom. We got plenty of room for you on the air with us. Plus, coming up, Bike Week is coming back to New Hampshire, and
yay!
It looks like it might be lame. Or at least that's the way it's being promoted.
Well, they're going to try to make it lame.
Yeah, we'll see what the bikers decide to do, though. More coming up.
It's hard to lame them.
Attention radio listeners. Have you ever wanted to be independent of the utility companies and actually generate your own supply of off-grid electrical power? If so, this is going to be the most important message you'll ever hear. Here's why. A limited number of solar-powered backup generators are back in stock and now available. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving electrical power when you need it most. And unlike gas generators, a solar generator runs quietly, emits no fumes, and produces an endless supply of free electricity from the sun. It's like having an electric power plant running silently, secretly in your own home. Run sump pumps, shortwave radios, computers, even keep food from spoiling. Go to mysolarbackup.com to learn more. That's mysolarbackup.com. Supplies are still limited and are available on a first-come, first-served basis only. mysolarbackup.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. You bring up anything you want. Take control of the airwaves here. Our number, 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. And the folks over at AnyPay have released something new, something exciting, especially if you are a WordPress administrator. If you're somebody who has a blog that is on the WordPress platform, and odds are if you've got a website, there's a good chance you've got WordPress. I think it's 1 out of 4 websites are being operated on WordPress. Well, I don't know. I think it's a pretty good platform. Maybe it's not the perfect tech thing or whatever.
I hate
but
PHP.
Oh, really? Well, it's a lot better in my experience than Drupal. I can tell you that.
The problem is
Drupal is also PHP and trying to do more with it.
Everything is PHP, so I'm not a fan of some of the things that WordPress where the community, I think is the best way to put it, is not great, but the underlying software is decent.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it wasn't that good, it probably wouldn't be as installed as it is. It's pretty widely done. In fact, I think probably 11 out of 12 websites that I run are running on WordPress. So a lot of people use it, and it's very effective, and it's free. So why not? But there's also a plugin for WordPress called WooCommerce, and that's like the big that's the big plugin for buying and buying products or whatever, if you've got a store up, for instance, on your WordPress blog. So now AnyPay has a plugin that makes it so you can accept cryptocurrencies through AnyPay via WooCommerce on WordPress, which is a pretty big deal. And that is now available. Whoa. All you have to do to get it for your WordPress blog is when you're going to add your plugins on WordPress, just search for AnyPay and there it is. Just install it and try it out. It's apparently pretty slick. AnyPayInc.com. You can go learn more about AnyPay. AnyPayInc.com. Got hopefully some pretty big announcements about AnyPay coming up within the next few weeks. That's all I can say for right now about that. But version 2.0 of AnyPay is available now, and there's going to be some big changes that are working, and it's going to make AnyPay even faster than it has ever been. So looking forward to that. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. Here we go to Dave Ridley. He's on our Discord server.
Riddler.
Hello, Dave.
Okay. So LibertyBlock.com in New Hampshire is reporting that quote, government agents in New Hampshire will no longer need to obtain warrants before entering a person's private property by force.
What?
If they suspect COVID noncompliance, according to the emergency order issued by Governor Chris Sununu on Thursday, unquote.
So I don't think the governor's orders override Supreme Court
or
override the Constitution.
Good God.
Well, theoretically they don't, but that won't stop them from coming into your home, and then you have to fight it after the fact.
That's
right?
true.
In theory, there's no difference between theory and practice, but in practice there generally is.
It's that old thing, the government can't do something except it can.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay, so this is a new order that you said just came out yesterday?
No, he posted this on August 15th, so he would have been talking about roughly August 14th, I guess.
Oh, okay, interesting. Well, I'm curious to know a little bit more about which order this might be. It is the first that I've heard of it, and you cited a website called Liberty Block, and this is one I'm not familiar with. Do you know anything about it?
LibertyBlock.com, I think, is Elliot Axelman's operation. I believe he's a free state.
So it's not Liberty Block like Cop Block.
Right.
And he also is a state rep, I think, in New Hampshire here.
Okay. Yeah, I actually met Elliot at the Porcupine Freedom Festival this year, and we interviewed him. Seemed like a pretty sharp guy.
I still got to bring him out a sign.
Was that all you wanted to share tonight, Dave? Was just that?
I guess the only thing I could add to it is that Tammy Simmons, who's another liberty-leaning state rep, has posted a message indicating that she doesn't agree with it. She doesn't think it's actually authorizing this. She tends to defend Sununu more than most of us free staters would.
According to the article here at Liberty Block, says government agents will no longer need to obtain warrants before entering private property if they suspect COVID noncompliance, according to the emergency order issued. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't link to said order, Governor Sununu has signed an emergency order establishing safety procedures for the dwindling virus and punishments for violating his new orders. The fines will range from $1,000 to $2,000 per day. As Liberty Block reported in an article recently, Sununu has promised to send teams of cops to enforce these new laws, which they're not laws.
It's the craziest thing. At the same time, the vaccine makers are saying that there's so little of this stuff around that they don't even know if they're going to be able to test their vaccine properly. I don't. It's like people are describing two completely different sets of facts and believing both of them at the same time.
Okay, so it looks like it was the same emergency order that also is requiring people gathered at an organization or some sort of a scheduled gathering of more than 100 people to wear masks. So this was one of the things that we violated over the weekend. Nobody at the Mask Freedom event that happened here in Keene last Saturday, from which, by the way, video is available over at freekeene.com. You can see nobody's speech. I gave one as well. And there was actually really another couple decent speeches. Dan, there's a local gentleman who's running for state senate who really, I would say, did a great job with his speech. He really called out the state in a way I wasn't expecting. A sort of like, I figured he was just going to be your typical Republican, but he really got up there and blew it away.
Well, the thing is, some of them are starting to get angry. Better late than never.
Yep.
And
absolutely. We even had a cop drive by here the other day and stop and talk to us on the porch, saying that he was fed up with how far the government has gone.
Can you imagine being the guy who had to enforce this stupid stuff?
Well, yeah, that is part of the problem of these cops is they will still enforce this even though they don't agree with it. That's one of the frustrating aspects of this. Dave, thanks for bringing that to our attention. We will try to pull up this executive order and see exactly what it is that it says here, if it is true that they are actually allowed to just come into people's homes without any consent whatsoever. Pretty scary stuff. Thank you, Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com. Let's go to Rick. He's in Washington State, listening online. Go ahead, Rick.
Hey, I'm a big fan of your show, man.
Thanks, Rick. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, what's on my mind is that, I hate how the government's getting corrupt. They're taking away people's rights. And there's only one specific type of people that's doing that.
What do you mean?
Politicians.
Well, they own about 99.9% of the banks of the whole wide world. They're the banker elite, also known as the Rockefellers, also known as George Soros. It's mainly the Jews what's behind all of it.
Well, that's a pretty ridiculous theory, given that there's plenty of people who aren't Jewish that are in seats of power. Right? So there's plenty of people who call themselves Christians.
But Ian, they're owned by the Jews.
There's plenty of people who call themselves Muslims. And it's really ridiculous to suggest that only Jewish people are in search of power.
Yeah, I mean, every culture has its mafias. There are certainly some very successful Jewish mafias. There are also some very successful Irish mafias and Italian mafias. Everybody's got some mafias.
It's a bit absurd to to be saying the Jews, the Jews control the world. Certainly, they have control over some Jews have control over some things, but that's like there's also some Germans who have control over some things, and some Catholics that have control over some things.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you can point out so many different examples of people who aren't Jewish, who are in seats of power and seats of banking, and these people just ignore all that. So there you go.
I'm pretty sure the Chinese banks are all run by Chinese people. I'm not. I'm just
right. Yep. 855-450 free like freedom. So the story here at LibertyBlock.com cites this emergency order issued regarding being able to go into people's homes. Quote, in accordance with, they cite some RSAs, local health officers are authorized to investigate, including inspecting sites on public and private property without the consent of the owners, all nuisances and other causes of danger to public health. Civil penalties may be imposed for failure to comply with any emergency order, up to $2,000, or the fine will be $2,000 per day issued under the state of emergency.
So there's the constitutional requirement for that is, and there has to be an imminent danger, effectively, for them to ignore getting a warrant. And
that's what they're going to say. It's an emergency, so therefore
no. There has to
imminent.
be an imminent danger, meaning
it's an emergency.
But
it
you
can't just
might get sick in
a
couple of months. Is not imminent danger.
It can't just be an emergency. It has to be an imminent danger.
Well, if it weren't imminent, it wouldn't be an emergency. So clearly, it's an emergency, and so therefore, it's imminent.
How long's the gestation period of this stuff?
I don't know.
I mean, it's like 3 weeks, isn't it?
Don't ask me, man. I have no clue. 855-450-FREE. My level of caring about COVID is about 0. 855-450-3733. But my caring about freedom is quite high. And how about you? You want to share your thoughts? You can join us here. Hour 3's next. This is Free Talk Live.
I don't think...
Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com. Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
They've learned their fate. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. An actress and her fashion designer husband in court today for sentencing in the college admissions cheating scandal.
The highest profile couple embroiled in the college admissions scandal is headed for prison. Lori Loughlin of Full House fame and her fashion designer husband Massimo Giannulli, both convicted on one conspiracy count each. The judge accepting the plea agreements that they worked out with prosecutors. Loughlin's deal calls for 2 months behind bars, a $150,000 fine, probation, community service. Loughlin's voice was shaking as she apologized, saying she was truly, profoundly, and deeply sorry. Giannulli's accepted deal calls for 5 months in prison, a $250,000 fine, community service, probation. Loughlin and Giannulli are both slated to report to prison on November 19th, yet to be determined facility.
Fox's Molly Line. At least 6 people are dead. Thousands have fled from their homes as California deals with what Cal Fire is calling an unprecedented number of wildfires. Governor Gavin Newsom says a heat wave is partly to blame.
It has led to many red flag warnings, including a significant number of lightning strikes, 10,849 lightning strikes alone.
Cal Fire says crews are being stretched to the limit and are looking for help from out of state and in Canada. Chevron says it's evacuating offshore personnel and beginning shut-in procedures at 4 offshore platforms and removing non-essential workers from 2 others as Tropical Storm Laura and a tropical depression take aim at the Gulf. If both storms don't weaken, Laura could head towards the Florida and Alabama end of the Gulf, while the other storm is headed for Texas and Louisiana. There's a resident of the National Zoo in Washington, a baby giant panda. The cub was born a little over an hour and a half ago. You can get a glimpse of it on the zoo's Panda Cam. America is listening to Fox News.
Who knew that the same company that made the twist ties around your loaf of bread also made the face shield delivered to your front door? Packaging solutions provider Bedford Industries stepped up in a big way during the pandemic with help from NetSuite, the world's #1 cloud business system. Here's Bedford's president, Jay Milbrandt.
At Bedford, we saw an opportunity to retool our products to create face shields. Thanks to the visibility and control NetSuite provides, we had the agility to change our business overnight. In no time, NetSuite helped us launch our first e-commerce site and handled crucial details from licensing to order tracking. Now we're taking orders from around the world 24/7. We couldn't have done it without NetSuite.
NetSuite by Oracle gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place. They surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook of top strategies they're using as America reopens for business. Receive your free guide, 7 actions businesses need to take now, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
A Republican House member rebuked by the Ethics Committee over a tweet.
The House Ethics Committee has found Florida Republican Matt Gaetz did not break the law, but did violate House rules when he tweeted a warning last year to President Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen. As Cohen was preparing to testify for a House committee last February, Gaetz asked Cohen in a tweet if his wife and father-in-law know about his girlfriends. Gaetz later deleted that tweet and apologized. The Ethics Committee says the tweet violated House Rule 23, which requires members of Congress to act in a manner that reflects credibility. The Ethics Committee admonished Gaetz a mild form of punishment. Jared Halpern, Fox News.
A federal judge has struck down Indiana's process of rejecting absentee ballots because of differing voter signatures, ruling that county election workers are not trained in handwriting analysis to determine whether the voter signatures match as required by state law. Iran reacts after the U.S. calls for a snapback of sanctions.
Iran saying the United States has no right to demand the return of sanctions on its economy, insisting the U.S. lost that authority when it quit the Iran nuclear deal 2 years ago. The Trump administration is launching an effort to reinstate UN sanctions on Iran for violating the nuclear accord, even though the U.S. is no longer a signatory. The other countries still in the deal are not supporting the American call. Simon Owen, Fox News.
The pace of existing home sales jumped by a record high, 24.7% last month, according to the National Association of Realtors. It says it's the second straight month of accelerating purchases. The reason, lower mortgage rates. Real estate professionals say in higher rent markets like New York and San Francisco, they're seeing people leaving high-rent cities for homes in the suburbs. They say it may be due to fears of an infection of COVID-19. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
America's.
The members of Twisted Sister announced they are now willing to take it. A local man is seated next to Lou Reed on a roller coaster, and in retrospect, a band teacher was probably gay. And now a digitally remastered recap of the summer's music news. Baby Baby Love Ya Girl is now the nation's #1 song, despite no one claiming credit for singing, writing, or producing it. Here now is a short excerpt of the track.
Baby, baby, love you, girl. Baby, baby, love you, girl.
Members of the music industry call the hit single the most creatively brain-dead wasteland in modern recording history. And they say they would gladly lose millions in royalties rather than face the shame of having been involved in it. After a slap-bass filibuster from rubber band minority leader Bootsy Collins, the National Funk Congress remains deadlocked over the controversial Get Up, Get Down issue. Proponents of the measure favor getting on up and staying on the scene like a sex machine, while detractors are vehement in their belief that Americans need to get down with their bad selves.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything that you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
So we are covering, well, actually, Dave Ridley had called in just a moment ago regarding this governor's order here in New Hampshire that it's a post from libertyblock.com, and it points out that there's, according to this order, quote, in accordance with, and then it cites 3 different statutes here in New Hampshire, They say local health officers are authorized to investigate, including inspecting sites on public and private property without the consent of the owners, all nuisances and other causes of danger to the public health. So actually what this order does is, beyond imposing a bunch of penalties like fines of $2,000 per day for violating these rules, pointing out that it's a misdemeanor penalty to violate the governor's emergency orders, which has always been that way. That wasn't new. That was the same way at the beginning of this thing. But the statement here about officers authorized to investigate public and private property without any kind of consent of the owners isn't a new thing. That's their interpretation of what the existing statutes are here in New Hampshire. So I was looking here at some of these statutes, and they talk about how, based on a so-called nuisance, whatever they consider to be a nuisance, there is an authorized member of the Department of Health and Human Services may enter any land for the purpose of collecting information that may be necessary to investigate or inspect drainage systems or private sewage systems. No owner shall refuse to admit any such member or agent. That's one example of this. Then in another RSA, this is
this has been overturned by the New Hampshire law, I believe, because this is based off a Supreme Court ruling, and it was I wish I knew I could quote the law, but that's not the case in New Hampshire.
Well, it says here on RSA 128.5 that a health officer or deputy health officer shall not be guilty of criminal trespass when conducting an investigation of sanitary conditions on private property without the consent of the owner, regardless of whether or not the property is designated a secure premises. So basically saying that if they believe there is some sort of sanitary issue, that they can just come in there and do whatever they want with their investigation, and they face no penalties.
The Fourth Amendment be damned.
Yeah, whatsoever. Because public health, basically, is what they're citing here. And then there's another public health document that, again, makes similar statements here. So basically they're just saying we can do whatever we want, and we're going to punish you if you don't do what we say. That's essentially what this is, and it goes on, and I really hope that the people of New Hampshire push back this year, and they give nobody a chance to get in there. Our co-host...
Because nobody should be doing this kind of thing.
I know. It's just absolutely outrageous how this is going. New Hampshire is an embarrassment. It is not live free or die. It's not even anything even close to that. Nope. Maybe it is still the freest state of all the 50 states, but that still isn't saying much. That just means it's like the least worst of all the 50 cancers, in the United States. And it's frustrating.
Yeah. This is I'm always frustrated by people who are like, well, New Hampshire's not free, and it's like, well, no, it was never free.
No place
there's no place in the world that's free, right?
If there was, I'd go there.
The whole reason that people of like mind are moving to New Hampshire for freedom is because there is no place that's free, right?
Oh, and by the way, Mark Edge, who's one of our co-hosts here, who still does not seem to be able to make up his mind about what he wants to do. He was going to go back to Saipan in the CNMI, the Mariana Islands, and he was talking about how it's the freest place in the United States because it's a U.S. territory. And now he's saying that apparently they're going to crack down again in the CNMI. They're now implementing a new curfew of 10 p.m.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, and this is the thing, like, you're not going to have any place that seems freer than another is not really free until you have enough people there who can actually have, that are, they love liberty,
right,
and are willing to, act.
Right. They have to be willing to actually make a stand for freedom, because just complaining isn't going to do it.
Right. You can complain from anywhere.
Right.
It's actually taking action and moving to be around other people that will eventually have an impact.
Refusing to do what you're told peacefully, and refusing to pay, refusing to obey. If you have enough people who together are doing those sorts of things, the government doesn't have enough jail cells for you.
Just say no.
Yeah, it's a good plan. It's good advice.
Oh, wow.
When it comes to the government.
Yeah, we need a t-shirt with that. Just say no.
I think they had those in the 1980s.
Yes, I know, but we need to revamp that. Bring it back.
We need to find the way to make that funny, because there's definitely jokes in it.
For sure. Just say no.
So Lori Loughlin. Now, she, for listeners who may not be familiar, was one of the popular characters. She was an actress on Full House, which was a very popular television show in the late 80s, early 90s. They actually brought it back. Netflix bought the property and brought them all back 30 years later or whatever. I've not seen the newer version of the show, but she got caught up in a bit of a prosecutorial situation last year when allegedly, and now I guess it's true because she pled guilty, legally at least, she and her husband are now going to prison because they helped their kids get into college. According to the story at foxnews.com, two of the highest-profile defendants in the college admissions scandal, which exposed the rich and famous paying big bucks to get their kids into the nation's most prestigious colleges and universities, were sentenced today.
I mean, is that even illegal? This is something that's been going on for God knows how long.
It's illegal, when you get caught.
I mean, like, isn't this something that we all know that this happens regularly? Like somebody
buys favoritism for rich people.
Well, yeah, somebody buys.
I wonder who they
a building
off.
Or a new addition, and then they let them in. Like that's just how it is. It's it's unspoken maybe, but that's what happens, and then it gets dedicated, and their kid gets in, and so on.
Right. So why did this happen?
It's it's this thing that and it's not like this, this thing that happened once. It's this thing that happens every day.
You think they stepped on somebody's toes? Nobody?
Yeah, I think they probably pissed somebody off and said, I'm going to get you, little.
Well, Lori Loughlin and her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannulli, were sentenced to 2 and 5 months, respectively, by Judge Nathaniel Gorton. The sentences are in line with terms of their plea deals that were laid out months ago. Loughlin, who was wearing, who cares what she was wearing, she appeared virtually via Zoom, initially seemed calm, showing little emotion as her attorney B.J. Trox said she is, quote, profoundly sorry for her actions. But it was when it was Loughlin's turn to address the judge, she forced back tears as she apologized, saying, quote, I made an awful decision. I went along with a plan to give my daughters an unfair advantage in the college admissions process, and in doing so I ignored my intuition and allowed myself to be swayed from my moral compass. I have great faith in God, and I believe in redemption, and I will do everything in my power to redeem myself and use this experience as a catalyst to do good. Unquote. Wow. Describing the devastating impact the charges have had on her family life and career, the attorney said, quote, Lori lost the acting career she spent 40 years building. He also called the conduct completely out of character for Loughlin. He touched on how growing up, Loughlin's family lived paycheck to paycheck. Quote, she didn't attend college because her family couldn't afford it. That from a young age, she was determined to succeed for herself and her family. Highlighted her recent.
How is that possible? She should have made tons of money from Full House, right?
No, that's growing up. She was an adult when she was on Full House.
She was not one of the child actors.
She wasn't the child
I'm thinking this is the little girl.
No, you're thinking of the
girls,
the twins.
The twins. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
The Olsen twins.
Yeah, the Olsen twins. Yeah. No, this was like their aunt character from the show. They had like a hot aunt. Anyway,
I remember that.
So the sentence again, they're going to prison. This isn't an actual
jail. It's 2 to 5 months.
Do you go to jail if it's a federal sentence?
Oh,
I don't think so.
See, I don't actually know. The feds may actually only operate prisons.
Don't they? Local jails often hold
federal prisoners?
Yeah,
that's usually pre-trial.
Pre-trial.
Okay.
Maybe there are some that hold post. I don't know. It's a good question. 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. All this over college education, which really isn't worth a hill of beans in the first place. Who cares? Right. 855-450-FREE. But now they're going to be taking up prison space.
They're going to use violence.
Porkchop, his coat is very thick. He's an Akita, German Shepherd, Lab, Husky mix. Harold, the Border Collie Pit mix. He has the most beautiful jet black coat. Stuart, my rat terrier, has fur now where he never had it before.
DINOVITE.com.
Dinovite will give them a beautiful, lustrous coat. It will make you smile.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Chinese banks limit customers' ability to buy gold. Chinese flooding and potential dam collapse threatens many Bitcoin operations. Withdrawals from crypto exchanges increase, indicating perhaps more people are holding their coin for themselves. Tentative agreement met to stabilize Bitcoin Cash mining in conjunction with the currency's third birthday. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Got shaving irritation? Shave Secret shaving oil can help stop it. Shave Secret doesn't cost much and is an all-American product. My name is Chuck Howard, and I developed Shave Secret and pioneered its use starting back in 1991. Ingrown hairs drove me nuts for years. Shaving oil changed all that. Why put up with ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts? Shave Secret provides men and women with what we believe is the best shave ever. Our proprietary blend of 100% natural base and essential oils plus a hint of menthol was designed to help eliminate shaving irritations like ingrown hairs, bumps, red rash, nicks, and cuts. We'll lose those shaving irritations. Available at Super Walmart, H-E-B, Wegmans, Giant Eagle, Discount Drug, Navy and Marine Exchanges, Amazon, and ShaveSecret.com. Use the code FTL for Free Talk Live and get a discount. Shave Secret, the best shave ever.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You dial in, toll free, bring up anything you want here. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms. How much will taxpayers be forced to pay to keep Lori Loughlin and her husband in prison cells for several months? In her case, 2 months. In his case, 5 months. What did they do? They help their daughters get into college. They grease some palms, basically, to get them into a college.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have committed some ferocious, violent crime, but no, they just bribe somebody.
Yeah,
for something insignificant.
Which is amazing to me, because, to me it makes perfect sense that, if you've got a lot of money and your kids aren't that bright, then, that they can't get into college. on their own, then yeah, any college administrator with any sense should say, sure, I'll let you in 5 times the normal tuition,
right?
And then that means 4 more students can go.
And it's what's hilarious is that like Harvard lets in people who are really, really dumb all the time.
Really?
Yeah. And
George Bush
it's because of basically people giving the school lots and lots of money. Usually I think it involves
also legacies.
Legacy, yeah, it usually involves legacy. Basically the parents having gone to the school. But the point is, they're still paying for access for their kids.
Right.
So
it just depends on who you pay. In this case, they paid some guy that was going to help them grease the wheels.
They bribed the wrong people.
I guess you can't pay somebody to help you bribe somebody. Like you have to do it directly, or it's like illegal or something.
Well, it's not bribery when you give the college money directly.
Okay, so you paid somebody.
It's a donation.
So maybe they're upset.
Yeah, I mean, this is just so ridiculous.
She didn't buy him a building or something.
So they are apparently, according to the plea agreement, going to have to serve not only time in prison but also pay fines. So they will be paying a $150,000 fine plus a $250,000 fine for each of her and her husband.
Does it say what the charge was?
Yes.
I mean, because it just
they racked him up, of course, as you might imagine. They hit him with multiple charges.
If it's a state college, then it's bribery of a public official.
Oh, is it a state college? Is that what happened?
Bribery was one of the charges. I'm not sure which college it was.
I wonder if it wasn't a private college, and that's why there's actually charges here.
I mean, almost every college is state college.
But the other thing is, technically, if you misuse, even a private employer, if you misuse their resources by letting people in contrary to policy, then there could be an argument that there's fraud going on there, and that she was an accessory to fraud by paying.
Maybe, but presumably, if you're paying somebody, you're paying the school and not the individual that's letting you in.
Well, see, I don't know who she bribed.
Yeah, I don't know
either. I think bribing the school is legal.
Right, that's what I would think.
It was, I believe, USC, which is the University of California.
That's University of California, land of free college.
Right. If you're rich, the lesson to be learned here is you don't bribe government institutions. You only bribe the private ones.
Well, don't be in California is a good start.
Here's an idea. Forget about college. It's highly overrated. I mean, these young women that they sent their daughters. They had 2 daughters. I mean, they're attractive young girls. I mean, they're already successful, right? Like they're pretty rich girls. Right? By virtue of who they were born into, which family they were born into, they're already a success. One of these girls on Instagram's got like 2 million followers or whatever. I mean, she doesn't have this now, but she had like a deal with some makeup company. She had a deal with, some fashion designer or whatever, right? Like she already had all these deals. She's, 19 and she already has deals bigger than what most people are going to have their entire lives. So what does she need college for exactly? What's she going to do?
Status.
Yeah.
Symbols. It's a symbol. It's a status. Yeah, I get it. It's, a lot of middle class individuals, they get the degree. It's a piece of paper, and it's not what gets you in the door. Even it's just a piece of paper that you can
may not
say, I attained a certain status, like education wise. And
I mean, the point of being educated is to know things, though, not to get your foot in the door.
Well, now some people would say it's all about who you know and not what you know.
Well, I mean, I say that I've gone back to college twice as an adult, and in both cases, I was taking a bunch of classes that were not particularly related to my career. I was learning about things because I wanted to know.
The U.S. attorney had this to say, quote, "The crime Giannulli and Loughlin committed was serious. Over the course of 2 years, they engaged twice in Singer's fraudulent scheme. They involved both their daughters in the fraud, directing them to pose in staged photographs for use in fake athletic profiles, and instructing one daughter on how to conceal the scheme from her high school counselor. As between the defendants, the evidence suggests Giannulli was the more active participant in the scheme. He engaged more frequently with Singer." So Singer was the agent that they were using to get all this done. He's the guy with the connections that they paid off to make this happen.
So really they were involved in welfare fraud is what they were doing.
What do you mean?
Well, they were trying to get into a welfare college, and the college is free in California, so that's government money.
I don't know about that. They were going to pay, I think.
So it's actually interesting. So I have a little bit of an idea here. So he's not entirely off on this. So for the most part, California colleges are heavily subsidized versus
but is that true for rich people?
So
college is free in California.
Yeah, it's
even for the ultra wealthy.
So
yes,
I don't know all the details, but I actually did apply for a college in California after I already got into college, because I was possibly looking to transfer. Anyway, the point is basically it's really, really hard to get into California universities outside of California because it's subsidized. Now, other states will subsidize in-state students, but they won't subsidize out-of-state students. So Pennsylvania is subsidized, but only for in-state students. If you come from outside the state, you pay a premium. It's the difference between $10,000 and $2,000.
He engaged more frequently with the agent directing the bribe payments to USC and Singer, and personally confronted his daughter's high school counselor to prevent the scheme from being discovered, brazenly lying about his daughter's athletic ability. So they ended up getting an athletic scholarship based on the claim that they were these athlete girls when they'd actually never played the sport that they were being represented as playing. He said that his wife took a less active role, but was nonetheless fully complicit, eagerly enlisting Singer a second time for her younger daughter and coaching her daughter to not, quote, say too much, unquote, to her high school's legitimate college counselor, lest he catch on to the fraud. They previously had pleaded not guilty to the charges, including bribery, which were brought against them in October of last year, along with the other parents, 11 of them, swept up in the scandal. The charge of conspiracy to commit federal program bribery carries a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000.
Yeah, federal program bribery.
And the couple was also hit with charges of money laundering and conspiracy that carried a potential sentence of 40 years if convicted of all of them. So there you go. Wow. There's your update on the amount of time and effort and money that was spent to put these people in prison because they wanted to send their girls to college and didn't give the right people the amount of money that they handed over for this. More coming up here in moments. You can take control of the airwaves. It's Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. Local.bitcoin.com. LRN.FM now has a Discord. Discord is a free text and voice chat platform, and we now have our own server with a bunch of channels at discord.lrn.fm. You can join other listeners as they chat about various things during our live shows, or anytime, day or night. Discord software is available cross-platform, so you can have it on whatever device you want and take your chats anywhere. Join our Discord at discord.lrn.fm. That's discord.lrn.fm.
Regarded by many as one of the fastest rising online personalities today, social media rock star Ryan Wasserman has 250,000 loyal Twitter followers and earns $28,000 a year at his job as an administrative assistant. The Onion spoke to the online luminary at KPL Insurance, where he works from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and makes roughly $13 an hour.
I'm just trying to bring my unique perspective to everybody. That's what my followers expect, and I like to think I deliver.
Wasserman, who currently has $900 in his checking account, regularly engages in conversations with high-profile celebrities and takes the bus to work from the two-bedroom apartment he shares with a 23-year-old he met on Craigslist.
Actually, I just started a Tumblr because sometimes 140 characters just doesn't cut it. I just had a Google Glass tweet that Questlove retweeted again. KPL, this is Ryan. Yeah, I'm sorry, I totally forgot.
This is the Onion News Network.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live. We'll take your calls, your thoughts about whatever's on your mind. And you can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. You can also join us online on the Free Talk Live forum, which is part of the larger Shire forums. You can go to forum.freetalklive.com. It'll take you right to it. That's forum.freetalklive.com. It's Ian, Nobody, and Chris here in the studio tonight. We've been talking about some court decision that we're pretty much done with that particular court decision, the one with the so-called college admissions scandal. The Lori Loughlin and her husband going to prison for 2 and 5 months, paying large fines over hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in other California court-related news, looks like a California judge has granted Uber and Lyft an emergency reprieve. Now, I don't know if you'd heard about the major the major decision recently where a California judge has said that now Uber and Lyft will have to qualify its drivers not as contractors, but as employees. And it's a major attack against the idea of being a contractor and having an agreement with a company, in this case just being completely undermined by the government courts in California. Uber and Lyft were both threatening to pull out of California, to shut down their services, no longer operate within that particular state, which happens to be like 10%, or I think it was like 12% of Uber and Lyft's revenue.
It's a big state.
Comes from California. So they were ready to walk away from this, but the last chance, last-ditch effort for them to stay active there was essentially a stay on the order, as I understand it. So they were seeking that, and apparently that has been granted.
I kind of hope that Uber and Lyft lose on this one.
So they can leave the state?
Yeah, because the people that would really lose would be the people of California, and they got it coming for keeping this dangerous government.
I agree. What do you mean that's not going to happen?
So here's the thing. They're going to switch their business model around is more likely what's going to happen, and they're going to be licensing out effectively the trademarks to fleets of vehicle owners, and then so it's just another way of getting around basically the law they passed.
So wait, you think they're going to license their
they've
logo?
already been talking about this in the news. Yeah, so they've already got
to what, a taxi cab company?
I don't understand
something very
how
similar
it works.
to a taxi cab company. It sounds like so. Basically, instead of
or something,
you're going to have one guy who owns a bunch of cars, and he has a bunch of Uber drivers who are his employees. But they're not Uber's employees; they're his employees.
It's not
interesting. I hadn't heard about this.
It's not entirely the same business model, but it's close enough where it'll work for them probably. And they've already got this in Germany and some other countries.
Really?
Yeah. So it's so stupid, but Yeah, I mean, they're just adding.
The courts are forcing them to do.
Basically, the courts are forcing them to add additional middlemen, which will increase prices and everything else. And just it's not like the employees are going to get, or the contractors are going to get paid more. It's just adding more work for the company.
Yeah, and it's irritating to me because I had arguments with my dispatcher when I was driving cab, where it was like he wanted me to do something right now, and I had someplace I had to be, and I said, I'm a contractor. You don't get to tell me what to do.
Right.
If I decide I'm going to take some time off and go see my girlfriend, I'm going to go see my girlfriend right now.
That's one of the benefits.
That's what my contract says. But that's not the case when you're an employee.
Correct, which is going to be a major so even though Uber and Lyft may still be able to operate under this new system that you're talking about, that's not going to help their contractor people, because now they're no longer going to be contractors and they'll have a schedule. Right? Because if you're an employee, they tell you when to show up.
Yeah, and a lot more money is going to go to bookkeeping and overhead. So that has to come out of the earnings of the driver. There's nowhere else for it to come from.
There's another way to look at this too. It's actually stifling competition. Right now, there's a lot of competition as a result of
the
Uber
ride shares
and Lyft and the ride shares. And this has not been the case, because they've had taxi companies have had effectively I don't know if you say monopolies, but cartels of a sort. And so, this is actually introducing some competition in the market. These cartels don't like that. They have to, obviously, they created a high barrier to entry to get those cartels in the first place set up. And now that somebody is undermining that, they are coming back and trying to ensure that their business model continues to function when it's self-interested.
One group of people which really loses in this is the last
customer?
people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the customer, and also the last people to become cab drivers never did benefit from the cartel, because they paid $800,000 or $1 million for their taxi cab medallion if they're driving in New York.
Yeah.
And
now it's
they're never going to make that money back.
Yeah, now they're worth a fraction of that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the value of those medallions have already been decimated.
Yeah.
They're not worth anything like they were.
So they, again, we're going to shut down at midnight yesterday or something like that. If this reprieve was not granted, it has been. So the judge did issue an emergency stay, allowing Uber and Lyft to continue operating under their current business model while they continue to litigate. And of course, there's also going to be a ballot measure on the ballot in California this November, where people are going to get to weigh in on this. Where it's an initiative that was sponsored by Uber and Lyft. So they got a bunch of signatures, right? And they got this thing on the ballot. So it's going to allow California voters to make sort of the final decision about this, which may not go well for them.
It's kind of funny. Even
California voters are about the last people on earth I'd want to trust with any kind of a decision.
Yeah. It's kind of funny also, because even if they get rid of Uber and Lyft and they're banned and they can no longer operate, and the government successfully clamps down on this, what's going to stop how are they going to stop the next technological development when it's completely decentralized? Are you literally going to start arresting the people who are driving driving for the decentralized app?
And maybe the way we should look at this is as an opportunity, because we can do. If we develop a decentralized app, we can do things that Uber can't do because of decentralization.
Well, the good news is you don't have to develop it. It's already been developed. It's called Cell 411, and it's had ride sharing in it now for a couple of years. And it may not be the best ride sharing setup out there, but it is decentralized.
It needs a little bit more work, but it would definitely be the platform that I would want to build it on top of. Just polish off what's already there.
Exactly. Now, and it was never really promoted particularly effectively or well. So I agree with you. It does need a little bit of work. But essentially what makes it different from Uber is Uber and Lyft centrally control the pricing. right? So Uber and Lyft also centrally control the distribution of the rides, right? So somebody requests a ride, they send out the request to the nearest driver, to the person who's sending the request. So they have a system, and their system does work pretty well, but they ultimately set the rates. So Uber looks at the market and says, all right, well, looks like the cab companies are charging this amount, or the government mandates this for cabs, so we're going to price slightly below that, and then we're going to give our drivers 75% of the revenue, and done deal. Okay, here we are. With Cell 411, you can set your own rates. So you can actually have competition for rate within the same app. So if one person wants to drive for, next to nothing, they can, and there's no one else that can stop them from doing that, because ultimately the app doesn't take a cut of the sale at all. So the driver keeps full amount of the fare. They can collect whatever kind of fare payment they want. If they want to take crypto, they can take crypto. They could want to take gold backs or whatever, they can take gold backs. They can take cash. They can take credit card, whatever they're prepared to accept. So it's decentralized in that the drivers decide the rate and the drivers decide how they get paid. But of course, there is still the centralization in that the app is an app. And that sort of thing. So
I'm sure that some of that can be resolved too.
Not impossible.
Sure, no doubt about it.
Well, there is a centralization to some degree, when it comes to all apps, in the sense that
you have to download the app from somewhere.
Download that from the App Store generally, and unless you know what you're doing, of course.
Right. So there you go. That's the latest on the Uber-Lyft controversy. We will continue to follow this closely because it is real bad news for the idea of being a contractor and just having the state come right in and rip your contract up and rip it out from underneath you and say, now everything's changing because we said so. More coming up here, 855, 450, free like freedom.
Have you ever thought about turning your Glock, XD Family, or 1911 handgun into a semi-automatic carbine? It only takes about 30 seconds. The MacTech Carbine Upper is classified as an accessory and can be delivered right to your doorstep with no FFL or background check required. It's the world's most versatile pistol accessory. Build your custom upper today. Simply go to handgunconversion.com. That's handgunconversion.com.
When you have a pain in the neck, a real pain in the neck, back, shoulder, or legs, you now have two convenient choices to get fast relief without taking another pill. Because now, Sunny Bay heating wraps and pillows are available at both Amazon and Walmart. Yes, see Sunny Bay's 4.5 to 5-star customer reviews on Amazon.com or Walmart.com. Our made in the USA microwavable heat wraps, heatable neck pillows, and extra large body wraps are designed better for perfect support where and when you need it. Even while driving, Sunny Bay wraps will not burn and stay balanced to provide soothing hot or cold therapy to help treat temporary or chronic pain. And the best part? Sunny Bay quality products start at under $20. Join thousands of happy customers and see why Sunny Bay products have a lifetime 100% positive rating on both Amazon and Etsy. It's easy. Click Amazon or Walmart and search today for Sunny Bay.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, a fitness writer, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Like many of the million people who are living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every single day. And sometimes my nerves are so raw that if you brushed up against me in an elevator, I'd scream. I can't sleep at night from the pain, and sometimes the spasms in my legs are so intense they will wake me up throughout the night. I've tried the strongest prescription medications available, and I'm going to tell you, they do not work. In fact, they leave me in a stupor, and most of the time, it's impossible to even live your life. Now, I've tried medical marijuana, and I'm going to tell you something, it works. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. The number's 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. Here in the studio tonight, you've got Ian
and Chris
and nobody.
So we go to your calls, your thoughts. Also want to make sure that you join us online over at freetalklive.com. We got a lot of features there. And Chris, you've also got your own show that you do, Freedom Decrypted.
Every Saturday from 5 to 8.
And it is, how would you describe it?
It's a libertarian leading slanted tech show, basically. So we cover, free software, Linux, GNU, and basically anything government related that involves tech. So them stamping down on your freedoms or privacy.
You do a good job at that.
Yeah.
And so check it out, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, start time for Saturday afternoons, correct?
Saturday afternoon, yeah.
Over at freedomdecrypted.com. You can also grab the podcast audio-only version of it, but it's by default, it's a video series.
It is, yeah. You can download the videos as well as stream
watch it live.
A live show if you want.
So check out Freedom Decrypted. Also check out electnobody.com for the latest from the Nobody campaign for governor here in New Hampshire.
It's true.
Which continues on for at least the next couple of weeks. We're setting up a debate between you and at least one of the other gubernatorial candidates. She has agreed to that. We've invited the incumbent as well, the incumbent governor. I suspect he's going to completely ignore the invitation, but nonetheless, the invitation has been made. And hopefully we'll have an interesting debate in about a week's time. So.
I still want to go knock on his door and invite him in person. I just want to bring a couple hundred friends.
That'd be great.
I'm sure the guy doesn't want to look bad, and he would look bad if he had to debate you.
Oh, I don't think he cares about that.
Really?
I mean, look how bad he looks right now. He's a tyrant. I mean, the dude is completely burning a lot of his bridges with people. He got into office and they were expecting him to be like a small government guy, and he has been terrible.
I am curious what people's perceptions in New Hampshire are like statistics. Have you seen anything of that nature?
Because, what do you mean? Statistics regarding what?
Yeah, as far as how well he's doing or what people voters think.
Good question.
As far as, for or against at this point.
At least a couple of months ago, he had tremendous support. At least according to the polls. But again,
he had my support after he vetoed those gun laws.
Sure, I mean he's done a few things right. I mean he did veto some really bad gun laws. He did sign marijuana decriminalization a few years ago, back in 2017. So he's done a few things right.
He then refused to sign the next step. So
you mean legalization,
right?
Arguably that was the right choice to make.
As bad as he's been,
it may be that particular bill was bad.
Yeah.
As bad as he's been, I think at the same time, we could have. He hasn't been as bad as some other states, some governors in other states.
That's true.
And it's
but
not
he
that
also
I
hasn't been the best.
I don't want to put him on a pedestal, but
I'd call him mid-pack.
Yeah,
like he's not the
absolutely.
worst, and he isn't even close
You're
to
right,
the best.
You're right. Absolutely.
So he's burning a lot of Republican bridges right now, and I think he's vulnerable. And now whether or not he can be defeated is another question, because right now there has yet to even be a poll that has asked anyone anything about the Republican primary. So there's never
that's
been.
not what the Just Us system is for.
Right. Yeah, it's. Right. I mean,
none of the people running against him are members of the club.
The problem is that the system is stacked against anybody else who's running. Pretty much. It's
it
just,
really is.
Yeah, you know, it's like
and the media is ignoring his competition completely.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no media coverage. This is one of those things.
There was one newspaper in the North Country that published a story within the last week, but that's it.
It's because of the name. I mean, it wasn't
because of nobody.
It's because of the name. It wasn't because, and this is the problem.
Well, that was the hope.
Because of the name,
the coverage, which has been very little so far.
Sure, absolutely, that was the hope. But I would hope that
there should have been more.
You would get more than just the name, right? Like what were your issues? What are you fighting for? You know,
sure.
It's like this media is just we need more media. We need more competition in that market, and we just don't have it.
There's not a lot up here.
I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that my polling when it starts will return surprisingly good results.
Really? I hope so. We're actually going to try this. We're going to try we're going to do our own poll, basically, because no one else is doing it.
I have to say, you guys are taking this campaign way more seriously than I could have imagined.
Well, the thing is,
it's surprising. It's kind of refreshing.
It's something. I mean, basically, right now it's about building a little bit of a platform. But once it's built, then it becomes easy to keep running. And I think I can do this for a couple more years without going completely out of my mind.
Good luck.
Let's go to the Discord line here. We got BC Covington on the line here with us. Go ahead, BC.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I'm on the radio, right? So
that's correct.
No naughty words.
Thank you very much. Correct.
Okay. Do you guys know the 1965 Hart-Celler Act?
Not familiar.
No.
What is it?
It's our most recent immigration act that we're currently under.
Hart-Celler?
Yeah, they're the two legislators who sponsored it.
Okay.
That sounds sketchy.
So
what about it?
What sounds sketchy about it that it doesn't exist?
Hart-Celler.
Yeah, they're the two names of the guys, like...
yeah, I know. It just sounds like they're going to cut out your heart and sell it to somebody. It doesn't sound good.
Oh, I see.
Sketchy.
I see what you're saying.
So what about this thing?
You're kind of right in that Shakespeare kind of said it, what's in a name? There is something to be said about that, because that was passed without American support and was lied to about the American people about what it would be.
Wait a minute. Are you saying politicians told lies?
I know, right?
Nobody tells the truth.
I know. This is maybe you guys are young. I'm younger than you guys, but maybe you guys might not have been around when this happened either. It was in 1965, so maybe your parents told you about it. This is the famous piece of legislation that Ted Kennedy had to speak to the American people and said, "We're going to pass this law, but it's not what you think. It's not going to drastically change the American nation." And then 60 years later, it did. I don't know if you've heard about that.
Are you still talking about this Hart-Celler thing, or is that?
Tell
us something about the law.
Yeah, what does it do?
What's your point about it?
Oh, okay. So basically, it undid a previous immigration law and then enacted some of its own things. So before 1965, we were under the 1924 National Origins Quota Act, which was a huge reduction, almost net zero in immigration. And we had some of our, we were able to get through the Depression, fight and win a world war and have the 1950s growth. So it was actually awesome. But
what is it that you have against people being able to travel freely?
Again, I believe in the nation state, but the point of this is not that. The point is,
you're complaining because you were saying it went from net zero to allowing more people to come in, right? That's your complaint.
You asked me what it was about. I'm just.
And now I'm asking you your opinion about it.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely was great.
You're saying the situation prior to the 1965 Act was great, and then after 1965, because this other thing, Hart-Celler, allowed more immigrants, now it's not great. That's what you're saying?
Well, hold on. Well, how about I tell you about it, since you have admitted that you don't know about either.
Go ahead.
So, okay. So the National Origins Quota Act in 1924 to 1965, there was immigration. It wasn't zero. It was near zero. But the immigration was, say we allowed 100,000 immigrants a year. Say you were, Japanese, and you want to be an immigrant. The percentage of the 100,000 total immigrants that could be Japanese was the same as the percentage of the Japanese already in America. So say 1% of Americans in 1930 were Japanese. That meant 1% of the 100,000 immigrants could be Japanese.
Sounds like gene pool socialism. We need a centrally planned gene pool.
Right. Some bureaucrats make decisions about who's allowed to come and who's not, and that got you excited, huh?
Yeah, you would think that. So Japan wishing to remain 99% Japanese, that's eugenics to you?
I'm not in Japan, and I don't believe in...
Well, it's a simple question.
I don't believe in restrictions that are arbitrary, imposed by government bureaucrats. I believe in freedom. What do you have against freedom?
So they're eugenicists, according to you, or gene pool
That's
socialists.
not what I said.
I would say they certainly do have a centrally planned gene pool.
Yeah, I don't support
and that's
that.
Bad?
Yeah, I don't support central planning. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me, because the way humanity evolved was that, the way evolution works is nature tries everything, and some things work better than others. So if you cut off some of the possibilities, then you might not find your optimal genetic solution. So no, I think you should mix everything up and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, freedom, baby.
Yeah,
hey, if
freedom.
you want to talk more BC Covington, we're out of time on this show, but Nobody Tells the Truth is coming up. No, it's not coming up?
I'm actually kind of drippy in the nose today.
All right, nobody tonight. Sorry about that. Maybe Sunday night. I think nobody's doing another episode
I will be back
Sunday night. We'll see you online in the meantime. freetalklive.com.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
There are basically two types of advertising: direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Questioning Authority is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
He knows his fate. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Sentencing today for the Golden State Killer.
Prosecutors from 6 counties were in the ballroom at Sacramento State University, where Joseph James D'Angelo was sentenced to multiple life terms for 13 murders and 13 rape-related crimes that he pleaded guilty to. After listening to 3 days of victim impact statements, he stood up from his wheelchair, took off his mask, and said he was sorry to everyone he hurt. One of his attorneys told the judge,
Mr. DeAngelis accepted responsibility for his crimes by pleading guilty and has even admitted uncharged crimes.
D'Angelo evaded authorities for almost 4 decades, but the case was cracked when an investigator linked his DNA to a family member's using a public genealogy website. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
Houston is bracing for what could be a double dose of storms. Tropical Storm Laura and Tropical Depression 14.
HPD will provide water rescues and block flooded roads. HFD will conduct water rescues. Public Works will provide barricades, high water trucks, storm drain monitoring, and assist with clearing trees if needed. Solid Waste will monitor debris and have contracts in place if needed.
Mayor Sylvester Turner, Chevron has announced it's pulling non-essential people off its rigs in the Gulf. Hundreds of wildfires burning all over the state of California, with nearly 24 larger complex fires in the San Francisco Bay Area.
We declared a statewide emergency, which fundamentally helps us avail ourselves of resources to combat these fires, both within the state and in terms of our mutual aid system.
Governor Gavin Newsom, 12,000 firefighters are battling the fires, but Newsom says they are stretched to the limit and they're asking for help. So far, he's asked for 10 other states to bring in resources. The Biden campaign says it and Democratic allies raised $70 billion over the course of the 4-day convention. America's listening to Fox News.
Who knew that the same company that made the twist ties around your loaf of bread also made the face shield delivered to your front door? Packaging solutions provider Bedford Industries stepped up in a big way during the pandemic with help from NetSuite, the world's #1 cloud business system. Here's Bedford's president, Jay Milbrandt.
At Bedford, we saw an opportunity to retool our products to create face shields. Thanks to the visibility and control NetSuite provides, we had the agility to change our business overnight. In no time, NetSuite helped us launch our first e-commerce site and handled crucial details from licensing to order tracking. Now we're taking orders from around the world 24/7. We couldn't have done it without NetSuite.
NetSuite by Oracle gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place. They surveyed hundreds of business leaders and assembled a playbook of top strategies they're using as America reopens for business. Receive your free guide, 7 actions businesses need to take now, and schedule your free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
The head of the Postal Service before a Senate panel over changes to the post office that have come under scrutiny.
Postmaster General Louis DeJoy told a Senate panel he's never spoken with President Trump or his campaign about recent changes at the post office, saying the removal of blue boxes and sorting machines were part of normal operations.
This has been going on in every election year and every year for that matter.
DeJoy conceded there have been mail delays, citing staffing issues due to the pandemic. But he denied overtime is being limited.
Overtime runs at a 13% rate before I got here, and it runs at a 13% rate now.
He also said he supports mail-in voting, vowing delivering election mail is his #1 priority. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Dozens of students at a Midwest college in hot water for violating rules put in place to stop the spread of COVID-19.
36 students at Purdue University are suspended for doing what many college kids do, attending a party. Though this one Wednesday night in violation of the school's Now Protect Purdue pledge intended to stop the spread of coronavirus.
A global pandemic changes everything.
Purdue Dean of Students Katie Summershine saying that students have the right to appeal. Syracuse University also announced this week it suspended 23 students for attending a large gathering on campus as other schools across the country scrap in-person learning altogether over the coronavirus. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
The Census Bureau was short by more than 25% of the door knockers needed for the 2020 census, according to the Office of Inspector General, which also says it's about to let go of its least productive census takers. The Bureau needed more than 300,000 census takers by the end of August, but by mid-month, just 220,000 census takers were tracked. I'm Lisa Lacera, and this is Fox News.
From Betty Davis's first role as a piece of chocolate cake in the 1931 film Palmy Days to the discovery of Niagara Falls in 1996, The Onion looks back at this week in history.